Chapter 12:02 The Heavenly Netherbird. Lin Xian suddenly realized that the aura on the other party's body was very similar to the aura of the black flames he had collected on the way here. At first, he didn't think of it, but after the Crimson Dragon's reminder, he realized that something was wrong. Why does the other party have such a strong aura of black flames? This isn't normal. Lin Xian was puzzled. One had to know that even if the other party had a black flame mark in his body, it was impossible for that trace of black flames to have such an aura. It seems that the Heavenly Netherbird is behind this. The Crimson Dragon said, with that guy's methods, it shouldn't be difficult for him to raise 2 people to the 8th heaven of the Supremacy Realm in a short period of time. Hearing this, Lin Xian gasped. As expected of the Heavenly Netherbird, it was indeed terrifying. It could create 2 8th heaven supremacies with a raise of its hand. This method was truly heaven-defying. However, this also made him very puzzled. He guessed that the Heavenly Netherbird had sent 2 8th heaven supremacies to seize the peerless weapon in the cave. The other party was a demonic beast and had no use for the weapon. It should be that the weapon was a threat to him. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's eyes lit up. If he could obtain that peerless weapon, it might increase their chances of winning. Thinking of this, Lin Xian clenched his fists. He had to obtain the peerless weapon inside. The next step was to wait patiently. 2 days later, the fiery red formation in front of them finally dimmed and disappeared. Everyone's face was filled with ecstasy as they quickly dashed inside. However, a few screams came from the front. Many of them quickly retreated, their faces full of pain. Some of them were on fire and were burning fiercely. A few powerhouses took action to extinguish the fire. Then, they looked forward with very serious expressions. Previously, because of the red formation, although they felt a scorching aura, they didn't pay much attention to it. But now, the red array formation was gone, and the scorching aura of the bones was completely exposed in front of them. The energy caused their expressions to change. It was too terrifying. It was as if an endless sea of fire was going to burn them. The few martial artists who had screamed earlier were burned by this heat wave. However, despite the danger ahead, no one retreated. Instead, they quickly made preparations. Even if it was a mountain of swords or a sea of flames, these people would still step in without hesitation, let alone a heat wave. Sure enough, the group was well prepared and set off. The plain-clothed old man took the lead, and a dazzling sword radiance gushed out from his body. Then his body swayed, and he charged forward like a beam of sword radiance. Wherever it passed, the fiery red airwaves were mercilessly torn apart and slapped to both sides. Behind him were Yan Feng and Duan Tianxing, 2 8th-level venerables. Their auras were extremely powerful. They were like ferocious beasts, pushing away all the heat waves. Behind the 2 of them were the elders of the major forces. These people also used all their means and quickly rushed forward. It's about time. Let's go. In the forest, the 7th elder and Zhu Chen moved out. They were like ghosts and were extremely fast. In an instant, they disappeared from their original positions. After the 2 of them left, Lin Xian and Zhao Shui also revealed themselves. Let's go too. Let's see what kind of peerless divine weapon is inside. Lin Xian looked forward, his eyes shining. He stomped his foot and shot forward like an arrow. When he was near the cave entrance, the red lotus armor on his body quickly covered his entire body. On the armor, a bright red lotus flower bloomed, pushing away all the heat waves that came with it. Zhao Shui followed closely behind. Countless golden vortexes appeared around him, absorbing the surrounding heat. The 2 of them were very fast. Soon, they entered the cave. There was another world inside the cave. It was bigger than expected. The crimson ground was cracked into pieces. Occasionally, flames would shoot out from these cracks. These flames were not to be underestimated. They could even easily tear apart a venerable's protective shield. No one doubted this. Not only was the ground fiery red, but the entire mountain walls were also fiery red. It was like a furnace of heaven and earth, emitting a scorching aura. As they walked forward, black iron chains appeared on the crimson walls. Each of them was as thick as a bucket. These iron chains intertwined with each other, as if they were binding something. Everyone looked ahead and sucked in a breath of cold air. This was because there was an extremely huge furnace in front of them. It was bound by countless black iron chains and suspended in midair. The furnace was very simple and unadorned. At first glance, one could tell that it was an ancient object. Moreover, its position was very strange. The mouth of the furnace was facing downward. Endless red lava flowed down from the mouth of the furnace like a fiery waterfall. This remote sky mystery realm had existed for at least a few thousand years. This cave must have existed all along. After a few thousand years, the fiery lava had not dried up. It was very strange. Lin Xian was also very surprised. However, he quickly figured out what was going on. He discovered that there were mysterious runes on the huge furnace, which were emitting a strange power. Perhaps the reason why the fiery waterfall could last for thousands of years was related to the mysterious patterns on the furnace. However, this was not something he needed to consider. He shifted his gaze away from the huge furnace and looked at the ground in front of him. Then Lin Xian's body shook. Endless light burst out from his eyes. There was an empty space in front of him. Countless swords were stuck in the ground. At a glance, they were densely packed like stone tablets. There were at least 1,000 of them. These long swords were of different sizes and shapes. Some were as bright as the sun, emitting a blazing light from all over. There were also some that were rusty, like rusty iron swords that were casually inserted into the ground. Looking at this scene, not only was Lin Xian stunned, but everyone else was as well. They did not expect that there would be over 1,000 swords here. That's right. This should be a place to refine weapons. Moreover, the owner of this place should be a master swordsmith. Otherwise, why would all the auras be from long swords? We're rich. We're really rich this time. These are all ancient artifacts. Their power is definitely beyond imagination. The group of people ran forward crazily. However, Lin Xian did not move. He felt that the situation was too strange. Moreover, his main target was the peerless divine weapon. Not only did Lin Xian not move, but the old man in plain clothes did not move either. However, the old man's eyes were like lightning. He quickly scanned the entire space as if he was looking for the peerless divine weapon. At this moment, many of the warriors who ran out previously pulled out their swords from the ground. A few of them managed to snatch the dazzling sword, and they immediately looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. Ha ha ha! Peerless divine weapon. I got the peerless divine weapon. Hearing this, a disciple of the deity sword Villa snorted and quickly took action. Chapter 1203. A sword chi that was like a crescent moon slashed down from the sky. The warrior holding the resplendent sword also snorted coldly and quickly waved the sword in his hand. The long sword bloomed like the sun, emitting an incomparably resplendent light. However, when it collided with the crescent moon sword chi, it let out a cracking sound and broke into two. What? How is this possible? This is impossible. I obtained a peerless divine weapon. How could it be broken? The warrior held the broken sword with a disappointed expression. However, an elder from deity sword Villa snorted coldly. How foolish! Whether it is a divine weapon or not, it is not just determined by its light. How can it be so easy to find a peerless divine weapon? Deity Sword Villa could be said to be the most outstanding sect in the Tianwu continent in terms of sword techniques. Therefore, the elder's words caused everyone to ponder. It seemed that the dazzling light was not necessarily a divine weapon. Instead, It was possible that the rusty sword was the true peerless treasure sword. For a time, many warriors specially chose those long swords that looked like scrap metal. Buzz, a warrior pulled out a rusty iron sword and waved it in the air. Under normal circumstances, these warriors wouldn't even look at it because the sword was too ordinary. But now, with their previous experience, they specially chose this kind of iron sword. However, to everyone's disappointment, the rusty sword directly turned into fragments in the air and scattered all over the ground. Seeing this, even the people from Deity Sword Villa frowned. It seemed that the treasured swords here could not be distinguished by appearance. It did not mean that sparkling swords were bad and rusty swords were not good. In other words, any sword could be a peerless divine weapon. Thinking of this, the warriors planned to start a carpet search. If one time was not enough, they would search twice. He did not believe that when they pulled out all the swords, they would still not be able to find the peerless divine weapon. However, in the next moment, many warriors in front of them cried out in alarm. This was because they realized that each person could only pull out one sword. Once the warriors who had pulled out the sword wanted to pull out another sword, they would be repelled by a strange force. Damn it, I don't believe it. Why can't I take the second one? Some martial artists refused to believe it. They exerted their strength and tried to pull out a second sword. However, a burst of sword chi shot out from the sword and split the warrior in half. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Then, they let out a breath of cold air. They were shocked, too shocked. They didn't expect such a change to happen to the swords. Although the one who had just died was only a sixth heaven venerate, this scene still shocked everyone. They would never forget that this was a cave left behind by an ancient expert who knew what terrifying things would be inside. So for a time, everyone became extremely careful as they were deeply afraid that they would trigger some formation taboo and cause unnecessary danger. Instead, it was those people who had hurriedly pulled out their treasured swords that were filled with regret. Previously, they didn't think that each person could only choose once, so they didn't care when they made their choice. But now they didn't have the chance to choose a second time. It seems like everyone can only choose once. If we follow the rules, there shouldn't be any danger. The people from Deity Sword Villa observed for a while and discovered the principle behind it. All right, all of you can go and choose your own treasured swords, the old man in plain clothes said slowly. Hearing this, the disciples of Deity Sword Villa were overjoyed. They quickly walked forward and carefully chose their swords. They were all swordsmen, so their pursuit of treasured swords was much stronger than other martial artists. They didn't act rashly before, so they avoided the incident just now. Now, they could finally choose properly. However, when Deity Sword Villa's Xiao Fan walked forward, something happened. Because before he could make his choice, a long sword on the ground began to tremble. Then it exploded with a dazzling light. Finally, the long sword rose from the ground and flew toward Xiao Fan. Xiao Fan's heart skipped a beat. He stretched out his hand and quickly grabbed the long sword. Then, the long sword let out a sonorous sword cry as if it was very excited. What's going on? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. This was because nothing like this had ever happened before. On the other hand, the elders of Deity Sword Villa were excited. The treasured sword chooses its master. This is the treasured sword choosing its master. Rumor has it that some high-grade treasured swords have spirituality. They can choose their own masters. I always thought it was a legend. I didn't expect to see it today. Xiao Fan, look at that treasured sword. Hearing the elder's words, Xiao Fan was also excited. Then he poured spiritual energy into the long sword in his hand. Suddenly, the sword chi let out a sonorous cry. A fiery red sword light swept across the entire void. Everywhere it passed, it seemed like a raging fire was burning. Finally, the red light in the sky dispersed, and the long sword revealed its true appearance. It was a fiery red long sword. There were patterns on it that looked like a Buddhist imprint. It emitted a scorching aura. On the hilt of the sword, there were two ancient words, distant fire sword, a half-earth ranked treasure. Moreover, it was a treasure forged by an ancient expert. Its power was unimaginable. After knowing this, the surrounding martial artists were envious. That was a half-earth ranked treasure. It was extremely precious. Only the genius disciples of the House of Kings, or some elders, could have it. Ordinary martial artists could not have it at all. Moreover, the distant fire sword was not an ordinary half-earth ranked treasure. It was a treasure forged by an ancient expert. Its power was stronger than an ordinary earth ranked treasure. D***MN. Why don't I have such luck? No wonder he is called the junior sword, honorable. He is indeed powerful. The group was envious. On the other hand, the elders of deity Sword Villa laughed heartily. Even the sword, honorable, nodded slightly. It was good that the treasured sword chose its master. At the side, Lin Xian was also surprised. He did not expect the treasured sword to have such spirituality. It could even choose its master. He wondered what would happen if he went up. Would he attract the peerless divine sword? He was very curious but did not act rashly. Firstly, he wanted to observe a little more. Secondly, the sword honorable and the few 8th level honorables had not made a move yet. He was not in a hurry. Lin Xian was not in a hurry, but it did not mean that the others were not, especially the young geniuses of the various forces. They all went down and were ready to show their skills. Buzz, the 13th young master of the Shen family, went down and caused a commotion. Another treasured sword chose its master. He obtained a golden treasured sword. Although it was also a half-earth rank treasure sword, in terms of power, it was weaker than the distant fire sword. Chapter 1204. In fact, this was normal because he wasn't a pure swordsman. As a disciple from the deity Sword Villa, Xiao Fan's attainments in the way of the sword far surpassed other martial artists. Therefore, he could obtain a treasure sword like the departing flame sword. As for the few genius disciples from the House of Kings, although they could also cause a commotion, they didn't obtain a peerless divine sword. Those ordinary disciples couldn't trigger the treasured swords to choose their masters. They could only rely on luck. Many people made their moves and obtained some treasures. At that moment, Yan Feng made his move. Yan Feng's move attracted everyone's attention. After all, he was an 8th heaven honorable. Everyone wanted to know what kind of divine weapon an expert of this level would obtain. For a moment, everyone's eyes were looking forward with great anticipation. Yan Feng's face was full of arrogance as he walked forward with majestic steps. Then, he stood in the middle of the field with his hands behind his back. His body emitted a powerful aura. Obviously, Yan Feng didn't plan to carefully choose the treasured swords. Instead, he waited quietly. It seemed like he wanted the treasured swords to choose their masters automatically. Indeed, in the next moment, the sound of swords clanging could be heard. However, the crowd was shocked. They realized that there wasn't only one treasure sword clanging. 2 treasured swords exploded with dazzling light. They were like resplendent suns that shone in all directions. Then, the 2 treasured swords turned into streaks of light that flew toward Yan Feng. Seeing this scene, everyone was incomparably shocked. Even Xiao Fan was extremely shocked. He didn't expect Yan Feng to be so powerful that he could make 2 treasured swords recognize him as their master. Was this the strength of an 8th heaven honorable? He was too powerful. When Yan Feng saw this, the corners of his mouth curled up. He revealed a confident smile. Then he reached out and grabbed one of the treasured swords. The moment he grabbed it, the light of the other sword quickly dimmed and returned to the ground. Seeing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Yen Feng didn't get both treasured swords. On the other hand, the people from the deity sword villa frowned. They knew the pros and cons of this. Ordinary martial artists would choose a treasure sword from thousands of long swords. It was very likely that they would choose a trash sword. However, Yen Feng had to choose between two treasured swords. No matter which one he chose, it would definitely be a treasure sword. It wouldn't be an ordinary sword, as expected of an 8th level venerated realm cultivator. To actually receive such treatment, seeing that Yen Feng had succeeded, everyone had different expressions. The 9th young master and the 13th young master of the Shin family looked unkind. This was because they realized that the sword in Yen Feng's hand was of a much higher grade than the ones in their hands. It even surpassed the leaf fire sword in Xiao Fan's hand. In the distance, Lin Xian also nodded slightly. It seemed that even if one was not a swordsman, when one's strength reached a certain level, these treasured swords would automatically choose their masters. Just like Yen Feng now, the grade of the treasured sword in his opponent's hand had already surpassed the distant fire sword. Even amongst the half-earth steppe treasures, it was still extremely good. However, compared to his Lone Star sword, it was still slightly inferior. That was because his Lone Star sword contained a trace of an Earth rank artifact fragment. As long as it was related to an Earth steppe treasure, its power would be unimaginable. Even if it was just a fragment, it would still far surpass a half-Earth steppe treasure of the same price. Therefore, Lin Xian's target was not the ordinary half-Earth steppe artifacts in front of him, but the true peerless divine weapon. After Yen Feng succeeded, the people from the Palace of Gods of War cheered. However, Duan Tianqing did not make a move. Instead, he looked towards the deity sword manor. To be exact, he was staring at the plain-clothed old man. It seemed that he was waiting for the old man to make a move. In fact, it was not only him. Everyone around was waiting because the plain-clothed old man was a legendary existence. He was the honorable sword of a generation. These people wanted to know what kind of phenomenon would occur if the honorable sword made a move. Would they be able to find the true peerless divine weapon? Feeling everyone's gaze, the plain-clothed old man's face was calm. Then he calmly walked forward. He's making a move. He's really making a move. Everyone was extremely excited because they could finally witness the power of the legendary honorable sword. Seeing the honorable sword make a move, Yen Feng and Duan Tianqing also held their breaths, especially Duan Tianqing, whose eyes were blazing. Not only him, but the 7th Elder and Zhu Qin of the Divine Bird Palace were also extremely nervous. They believed that as long as the honorable sword made a move, he would definitely be able to attract the peerless divine weapon. Then it would be time for them to make a move. Of course, it would be even better if the honorable sword could not find the peerless divine weapon. In that case, no one would be able to find the true peerless divine weapon, and they would be able to complete the Heavenly Netherbird's mission without having to make a move. On the side, Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. If there was someone who posed the greatest threat to him here, it would naturally be the plain-clothed old man. After all, the old man was once the famous honorable sword. Although his vitality had withered, he was still not someone an ordinary 8th heaven honorable could contend against. Moreover, the old man was an expert in the way of the sword. His attainments in the way of the sword were extraordinary. Perhaps he could really find the peerless divine weapon. Thinking of this, Lin Xian took a deep breath. If the situation changed, he had to make a move. Ha ha! Honorable sword, you don't mind if I search with you, right? At this moment, Duan Tianqing of the Palace of Gods of War suddenly spoke. Then his godlike body quickly stepped forward and walked forward. In an instant, he arrived at the place where the sword was hidden. At this moment, the honorable sword's voice slowly drifted over. As you wish. Clearly, he did not take Duan Tianqing to heart. In that case, I won't hold back. Then, Duan Tianqing stepped forward and his aura suddenly erupted. Like a storm, it instantly filled the entire space. Its power was even stronger than Yan Feng's. Following his arrival, the long swords in front of him also began to hum non-stop. In fact, many of the long swords even burst out with resplendent light. 5 swords, a total of 5 swords, shot into the sky and rapidly flew towards Duan Tianqing. Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed, their eyes filled with astonishment. One had to know that Yan Feng had only been able to attract 2 swords previously. That was already enviable. But now Duan Tianqing had actually attracted 5 swords directly. This was truly shocking. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes and looked forward. Indeed, Duan Tianqing was much stronger than Yan Feng. It was reasonable for him to be able to attract 5 swords. Duan Tianqing stood with his hands behind his back. He had no intention of making a move. He allowed the 5 swords to turn into shocking rainbows and dance around him. His gaze was like a sharp sword as he looked behind him. There was an old figure there, but no one dared to underestimate him. The linen-clothed old man did not have any reaction to Duan Tianqing being able to attract 5 swords. His old face remained calm. Then he slowly arrived at the place where the sword was hidden. The moment he stepped on the ground, the surrounding swords suddenly emitted a dazzling light. Dozens of long swords shot into the sky like lightning and instantly arrived beside the old man. Chapter 12:05. The number was not something Duan Tianqing could compare to. The 10 swords turned into a long rainbow and danced around the old man, emitting a blazing light. This scene caused everyone to widen their eyes in shock. Even Duan Tianqing's pupils constricted, and his face was full of shock. His previous actions were naturally provocative. In his opinion, although the sword venerable was famous, he had already declined and could no longer display the power he had in the past. That was why he wanted to provoke him. However, he did not expect that the sword venerable would still be so powerful even though his blood chi had withered. With just a step, he attracted 10 swords to surround him. There were twice as many swords as he was. This made him extremely shocked. One had to know that he had used all his strength to attract 1 sword, but the sword venerable had attracted 10 swords just by walking casually. The gap between them could be said to be abnormally huge. The 10 swords circled around the sword venerable like flowing light. The sword venerable only glanced at them casually, then shook his head slightly. The next moment he waved his hand, and a majestic force surged out, pushing the 10 swords away. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The 10 swords flew out and returned to the ground. What? He pushed them away. Seeing this scene, everyone was extremely shocked. Those were 10 swords. If it were any other cultivator, they would definitely choose carefully. However, the sword venerable had casually pushed them away and did not choose a single one. It had to be said that he was too bold. In this world, only the sword venerable could do that. At the side, Duan Tianqing's face darkened. He originally wanted to provoke the sword venerable, but he did not expect the sword venerable to suppress him in terms of numbers. However, the sword venerable's actions directly provoked him. The 10 swords glanced at each other and were pushed away. This made him extremely shocked and infuriated at the same time. Then he snorted coldly and pushed away the 5 swords beside him. Seeing this action, the surrounding people also exclaimed. However, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. With Duan Tianqing's strength and attainments in the sword Dao, wanting to compete with the sword venerable was undoubtedly like throwing an egg against a rock. The sword venerable was even more expressionless. He did not even look at Duan Tianqing. Once again, he walked past the countless swords. Then, countless swords soared into the sky and flew towards him like rainbows. This time, there were even more of them. There were 20 of them. However, the sword venerable only glanced at it before shaking his head and pushing it away again. Next, 30 swords soared into the sky before being pushed away again. Duan Tianxing originally wanted to compete with Sword Sovereign, but when he saw this scene, he was immediately stunned. This kind of method was simply not something that he could use. In front of them, as the Sword Sovereign's aura grew stronger, the number of treasured swords in the sky also increased. All of a sudden, a sword emitted a shocking light. That light was very special. It suppressed the other sword lights and even emitted an unusually sharp aura. Seeing this sword light, everyone looked over with rapt attention. They were very excited. Could it be that a peerless divine weapon has appeared? It seems very likely. As expected of the honorable sword, I'm afraid only he has the means to make the peerless divine weapon appear. Everyone was shocked. On the other hand, the people from Deity Sword Villa were ecstatic. Duan Tianxing's face was gloomy. He looked ahead and roared, unleashing an unparalleled power. His power swept towards the shocking sword light, trying to snatch it from the sword sovereign. However, when his power was swept into the sword light, it was as if it had fallen into the sea. There was no wind at all. Damn it! Duan Tianxing was extremely angry. He also knew that he was no match for the sword sovereign. However, he was unwilling to let the divine weapon fall into the hands of the Deity Sword Villa, so he could only fight for it with all his might. The sword sovereign did not stop Duan Tianxing because the other party did not attack directly. Instead, he used his aura to attract the sword. This did not violate any rules. Therefore, the sword sovereign could not be bothered with him because he was confident that no one here was a match for him in terms of sword principle. They were not even qualified for him to take them seriously. In front of them, the sword light became brighter and brighter as if it was going to break through the sky. The sword sovereign's eyes were also extremely bright, as if he wanted to see if the sword was a peerless divine weapon. In the distance, Lin Xian looked at this scene with a grave expression. Although he was not sure if the sword light was from a peerless divine weapon, he knew that he could not wait any longer. In the next moment, Lin Xian made his move. His figure was like a phantom as he shuttled through the crowd and arrived at the place where the sword was hidden in an instant. When he stepped onto the ground, he immediately activated the great dragon sword soul. A deep dragon roar sounded from within his body. Then, an unforgettable scene appeared. On the ground in front of him, thousands of swords were all trembling as if they were going to soar into the sky. Beams of dazzling sword light burst out and connected into one, illuminating the entire sky. Clang, clang, thousands of swords flew out and floated in the sky, blooming with dazzling light. Then, these swords turned into shocking rainbows and flew towards Lin Xian. For a moment, Lin Xian was like a sword immortal, attracting thousands of swords to revolve around him. What? Thousands of swords? How is this possible? Dream. I must be dreaming. D***M. Who is this kid? How can he be so powerful? Everyone was stunned. They looked at the scene in front of them as if they had seen a ghost. They could not believe it. There were more than 1,000 swords in front of them. At this moment, most of them had soared into the sky and were circling around Lin Xian. There were only a few swords left on the ground. It could be said that Lin Xian's appearance had attracted almost all of the swords. This was too shocking. One should know that even a sword honorable would not be able to create such a scene. Even Zhao Shui, Murong Qingcheng, and the others widened their eyes in disbelief. The others were even more shocked. The people from the Deity Sword Villa were exclaiming. On the other hand, the people from the Aries Works and the Shun family looked extremely gloomy, especially Yan Feng and Duan Tianxing. D***M. How can this guy attract thousands of swords? Yan Feng gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. Previously, he lost to Lin Xian and was very unwilling to accept it. This time, he had a breakthrough in his cultivation and thought that he could definitely defeat Lin Xian. However, he had lost to Lin Xian before they even fought. One should know that he had only attracted 2 swords previously. Now, Lin Xian had attracted thousands of swords. The gap between them was like the gap between heaven and earth. It was impossible to cross. Even the sword Honorable could not remain calm. He looked at Lin Xian with astonishment in his eyes. To be honest, even if he used all his strength, he would not be able to create such a scene. Chapter 12:06. The long swords here were very magical. It didn't mean that one could attract many swords just because they were powerful. It depended on fate and attainments in the sword Tao. It could be said that it was extremely mysterious. Even if a king came, he wouldn't be able to attract almost all the swords away, because this was simply impossible. Who is this young man? How can he be so powerful? The sword Venerable stared at Lin Xian carefully, his face full of doubts. He had heard of the few genius disciples of the House of Kings, but the Lin Xian in front of him was completely different from the information he knew. In other words, he wasn't from the House of Kings. This made him even more surprised. Apart from the House of Kings, could there be any other force's disciple that could be so shocking? No, even the House of Kings can't find such a person. Unique treasure. This kid must have a unique treasure in his hands to be able to cause such a phenomenon. The sword Venerable's eyes flickered as he stared at Lin Xian. He couldn't help it. The scene was too shocking. He really didn't believe that a young man with the 7th level of the Supremacy Realm could cause such a phenomenon. Perhaps the only explanation was that he had a treasure on him. In fact, he was almost right. However, it wasn't a treasure, but a sword soul. The reason for such a shocking scene was the great dragon sword soul in Lin Xian's body. The great dragon sword soul was an offensive saint technique in the world. It was extremely powerful, and its aura could naturally attract countless swords here. Therefore, although Lin Xian's cultivation was only at the 7th level of the Supremacy Realm, the commotion he caused was even more terrifying than the sword Venerable. Looking at the thousands of long swords around him, Lin Xian's eyes flickered. Then he stretched out his hands and pressed down on the void. Suddenly, a majestic force surged out and pushed the thousands of swords away. Then, the long swords plunged back into the ground like a rain of swords. Bang, 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 bang. The void rumbled, and the ground trembled. Countless long swords kept clanging. What? He pushed them all away? He didn't take any of them. Everyone was dumbfounded. They didn't expect Lin Xian to do that. This was truly a bold move. There were over 1,000 swords, and there were definitely powerful treasures amongst them. However, Lin Xian did not choose any of them, and directly pushed them aside. This boldness was even stronger than the sword Venerable. Duan Tianxing's face darkened at this sight. Damn it, this brat's target is also a peerless divine weapon. Stop him, don't let him come up. Brat, scram. As soon as Duan Tianxing left, Duan Tianlang from the Palace of Gods of War grinned maliciously and rushed towards Lin Xian. His current cultivation had already reached the peak of the 7th heaven of the Venerable Realm. It could be said that his strength had increased greatly. In the next moment, a terrifying fist smashed towards Lin Xian's head. Die, brat! A demon wolf flew out from the fist. The void trembled and was mercilessly torn apart. The demon wolf turned into a beam of light and quickly pounced towards Lin Xian. He attacked with his full strength right from the start. It seems that Duan Tianlang wants to kill him. That's for sure. Duan Tianlang suffered a loss in Lin Xian's hands previously. Now that his strength has increased greatly, he naturally wants to take revenge. Lin Xian is probably in danger. Yeah, he could create such a phenomenon previously. It shouldn't be because of his own strength. I wonder if he can withstand this punch. Everyone was in a heated discussion. Many of them looked worried. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian snorted coldly and then slapped out. Spiritual energy rolled, and countless flames jumped. They turned into a huge flaming hand and slapped forward. Boom! With one slap, the demon wolf fist dissipated. Not only that, Duan Tianlang was also sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood and crashed into the wall behind him. What? He was sent flying? Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. That was a peak seventh heaven venerable. Lin Xian's strength was a little too terrifying to be able to send him flying with a single slap. How is this possible? Damn it, how did he do it? The people from the Palace of Gods of War were horrified. Yan Feng's face darkened. His eyes were like lightning as he stared at Lin Xian. Then he sneered coldly. Seventh heaven venerable. So you've broken through. No wonder you're stronger than before. But so what if you've broken through? You can only lie down in front of me. Yan Feng's voice was cold. Then he took a step forward, and his body exuded powerful spiritual energy, the aura of an eighth heaven venerable. Oh my God, is Yan Feng going to attack? It's possible. According to the rumors, Yan Feng was once defeated by Lin Xian. He probably wants to take revenge now. What? Yan Feng was defeated before? Are you kidding? He's a genius martial artist from the Palace of Gods of War. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect there to be such a secret. Lin Xian is too terrifying. He can even defeat a genius martial artist like Yan Feng. So what? He was just lucky. Senior brother Yan Feng has broken through to the eighth heaven venerable. He's a peerless expert. No matter how strong that kid is, he can't beat our senior brother Yan Feng. Humph, he's dead meat. An eighth heaven venerable can crush a seventh heaven venerable. Senior brother Yan Feng can kill him with a finger. The disciples of the Palace of Gods of War sneered when they saw Yan Feng attack. In the distance, Duan Tianxing also heaved a sigh of relief. Then he focused on finding a peerless weapon. Lin Xian said coldly, "You're not my match. Kid, you're too arrogant." Yan Feng sneered. "Although I was defeated by you before, it's different now. I've broken through to the eighth heaven venerable. Killing you is as easy as flipping my hand." However, Lin Xian shook his head. An eighth heaven venerable isn't invincible. You've just entered the eighth heaven. I said, you're not my match. So if you don't want to die, get lost. You're the first person who dares to talk to me like this. I'll knock your teeth out one by one later. Let's see how stubborn you are then. Yan Feng held the sword he just obtained and slashed out. The sword light flashed and turned into countless light waves that charged over. It was like endless waves rushing through the void. This sword was too terrifying. It was enough to kill any seventh heaven venerable. When the surrounding people saw Yan Feng attack, they all retreated, afraid that they would be swept away by the waves. Is this the strength of an eighth heaven venerable? Just the aura alone makes me feel despair. There's nothing I can do. The gap is too big. The further one reached the venerable realm, the greater the gap. The difference between an eighth heaven and a seventh heaven was like heaven and earth. It was impossible to fight someone of a higher level. For a moment, no one was optimistic about Lin Xian. They thought that he was dead meat this time. The terrifying sword light was incomparably vast, but it had no effect on Lin Xian. A vermilion bird seal quickly shot out from Lin Xian's hand. The fire element here was very rich, so Lin Xian used fire concept in these few moves. A flaming vermilion bird was born and shattered all the sword light. I said, you're not my match. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Chapter 12:07. I've said it before. You're no match for me. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Lin Xian said coldly. Then he stomped his foot and charged out like a bolt of lightning. What? He blocked it. Lin Xian could actually block the attack of an eighth heaven supremacy? That was unbelievable. Everyone was dumbfounded. Although they knew that Lin Xian was powerful and mysterious, they didn't think that Lin Xian could fight against an eighth heaven supremacy. But now he had done it. It was really shocking. Yan Feng's face turned pale. He didn't expect Lin Xian to be able to fight against him. There was a ball of anger burning in his heart. You're courting death. How dare an ant compete with the sun and moon? I'll let you know the true power of an eighth heaven supremacy. Yan Feng put away the sword in his hand and pulled out the demon slayer at his waist. With a clang, the demon slayer was pulled out. The long saber shone, and the light was like the sea. The resplendent saber light shot into the sky and lit up the entire space. Buzz. Yan Feng held the frenzied saber and slashed out. Suddenly, the saber light emitted a buzzing sound that made one's soul tremble. The ocean blue saber light was like a wave that instantly streaked across the sky and slashed toward Lin Xian. The entire cave was shaking. 8 ocean abyss saber. Yan Feng's voice was cold like the edge of a saber. His head emitted a sharp aura. The 8 ocean abyss saber was an earth-class martial art. It was very terrifying. Now that Yan Feng's cultivation had increased greatly and reached the 8th heaven supremacy, he could be said to be extremely powerful. At that moment, he was one with the saber. The terrifying saber light seemed to be able to shatter everything as it slashed toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian stood in the field and waved his hand. Immediately, the thousands of swords around him trembled and emitted a resplendent light, forming a sea of sword light. These sword lights combined to form a huge sword chi that floated in the sky. Then it slashed forward viciously. Boom! The two collided with a deafening sound. It was as if thunder had exploded from the 9 heavens. The entire cave kept shaking. At this moment, mysterious red runes appeared on the ground and walls, emitting a mysterious power that protected the entire cave. Otherwise, just this move alone would have flattened the entire cave. However, those martial artists were not so lucky. That terrifying remnant energy directly impacted their bodies, sending them flying. Those with weaker strength even vomited large mouthfuls of blood, suffering serious injuries. Retreat! Countless people screamed in horror and retreated to the wall. The older generation figures and 7th-level venerables quickly worked together to form a screen of light to defend. Otherwise, many of them would probably die here in the next attack. Now, they were no longer shocked, but terrified. Especially the warriors from the palace of Ares. Their expressions were as if they had seen a ghost. Impossible! How is this possible? How can he contend against an 8th-level venerable? Dream, damn it, I must be dreaming. They had really gone mad. It should be known that that was an 8th heaven venerable. In the eyes of the world, he was already a peerless expert. Moreover, there was a huge gap between a 7th-level venerable realm and an 8th-level venerable realm. It could be said that there was no suspense in this battle. But now, the result was completely out of their expectations. Lin Xian blocked Yan Feng's attack. Not only that, but it seemed that they were evenly matched. Yan Feng's expression was even more frightening. If the first attack could be said to be blocked by luck, then the previous scene was definitely not luck. He could now confirm that Lin Xian definitely had the battle prowess of an 8th heaven venerable. Damn it, how did this brat do it? Yan Feng's expression was extremely ugly. I don't believe it. This brat must have used some secret technique to forcefully increase his battle prowess. Yes, it must be so. Otherwise, how could he possibly contend against me? Yan Feng seemed to have grasped something. Then he revealed a cold smile. Brat, I didn't expect you to have such a secret technique. But it's a pity. I think this secret technique won't last for too long. Since that's the case, I'll play with you. When the secret technique ends, I'll let you know how powerful I am." Yan Feng's words calmed the hearts of the palace of Ares' disciples. So it was a secret technique. No wonder he could contend against an 8th-level venerable. Humph, what a crooked method. The secret technique can temporarily increase one's battle prowess, but the side effects are definitely huge. Furthermore, this secret technique definitely won't last for too long. Just wait. Once the secret technique ends, he'll be dead for sure. Faced with these words, Lin Xian only said 2 words: ignorant. He did indeed have a secret technique that could increase his battle prowess. However, he didn't use any secret technique at all. This was his true battle prowess. However, he didn't have time to waste here with Yan Feng. His goal was the peerless divine weapon. With a cold snort, Lin Xian attacked again. "Haha, brat, I guessed it right. You can't wait to attack, right?" Seeing Lin Xian's actions seemed to confirm his guess, Yan Feng laughed maniacally. A guy who used a secret technique to increase his strength wants to compete with me? What a joke. Yan Feng laughed maniacally as he waved the berserk blade in his hand. Rays of blade light surged out rapidly. Then, an unparalleled power erupted from Yan Feng's body. His eyes were like 2 rays of blade light piercing through space and time. At this moment, he seemed to have merged with the berserk blade in his hand, erupting with a powerful battle prowess. Lin Xian pulled out the Lone Star sword with a backhand. Boundless sword light rushed out from his body. At the same time, he used the illusory demon steps, leaving behind a series of afterimages in the sky. He instantly arrived in front of Yan Feng. The Lone Star sword in his hand slashed down fiercely. Dang! The 2 collided, creating an earth-shattering sound. A huge crack appeared in the void. Lin Xian's black hair fluttered. The great dragon sword soul continued to circulate, causing his battle prowess to be unparalleled. He fought Yan Feng, an 8th-level venerable. The surrounding people were deeply shocked by this scene. A 7th-level venerable fought an 8th-level venerable head-on. This was probably the first time in history that a 7th-level venerable was not at a disadvantage. Impossible. Go to hell. Yan Feng roared into the sky, wanting to kill Lin Xian. His black hair danced wildly. His gaze was as sharp as a blade. The long blade in his hand slashed towards Lin Xian. Every strike caused the void to collapse. On the other hand, Lin Xian was like the tip of a sword, sharp to the extreme. The long sword slashed across the sky, emitting an unparalleled light that caused the entire world to lose its color. The sword Qi swept out, shattering all of Yan Feng's attacks. The sword Qi was like a dragon roaring in the sky, as if it wanted to tear the world apart. It was extremely terrifying. Yan Feng's pupils shrank, and his expression changed drastically. He did not dare to face this terrifying sword Qi head-on. His body quickly retreated like a ghost. However, his aura was at a disadvantage as he retreated. When he wanted to counterattack, he realized that he was being suppressed by Lin Xian. At this moment, Lin Xian's aura continued to rise. He was like an ancient demon mountain that people could only look up to. Chapter 12:08. Lin Xian did not give Yan Feng a chance to counterattack. The Lone Star sword in his hand was like a dragon roaring continuously. A terrifying killing intent swept out in all directions. Lin Xian slashed out 13 times in a row. The terrifying sword light connected in the sky like a vast ocean and blasted towards Yan Feng. The entire void was trembling, and the cave was shaking nonstop, as if it would collapse at any time. Yan Feng's face was pale. He could not dodge at all, and could only take the 13 swords head-on. The sound of metal clashing resounded in the air. Yan Feng's face was pale, and his entire arm was trembling. The 13 swords were like raging waves, each stronger than the last. In the end, although he took the 13 swords, his arm was completely numb, and he could not exert any strength at all. On the other hand, Lin Xian's battle intent was high, and his aura was majestic. Sword light surrounded his body, and his killing intent was monstrous. He slashed out again. Wind and thunder roared, and metal and fire mixed together. This sword was extremely sharp, and it directly sent Yan Feng's demon slayer flying. Then, the long sword swept out like a dragon swinging its tail, and sent Yan Feng flying. Blood splattered in the air, and explosions continued. Everyone was stunned. The scene in front of them was shocking. They could not believe that Yan Feng had been defeated. One had to know that Yan Feng was an 8th heaven honorable. He was a peerless expert in the eyes of the world, but he had been defeated just like that. Furthermore, he had lost to a 7th level venerate. This was simply too unbelievable. Duan Tianxing's face was also gloomy, and his entire body was trembling. He did not expect Lin Xian to be able to defeat Yan Feng. It was really beyond his expectations. Not only that, but an inexplicable fear rose in his heart. Lin Xian was someone that the Palace of Gods of War had to kill. One of his missions in the remote sky secret realm this time was to kill Lin Xian. Originally, there was no suspense to this mission because Lin Xian was only a cultivator at the 5th heavenly layer before entering the remote heaven's secret realm. A person like that was like an ant in Duan Tianxing's eyes. However, in just 2 to 3 months, Lin Xian had already become a 7th heaven honorable. Not only that, his battle strength was even more powerful. He could already fight against an 8th heaven honorable. It would be very difficult to kill him now. Thinking of this, he felt fear and regret at the same time. If he had made up his mind to pursue them with all his might back then, none of this would have happened. But now, it was too late. Not only in the remote sky secret realm, but if they let him out, the situation in the Palace of Gods of War would change drastically. Therefore, the best opportunity to kill Lin Xian was in the remote heaven mystery realm. Just as he was considering whether or not to make a move, Lin Xian had already made the first move. After dealing with Yan Feng, Lin Xian turned around and returned to the place where the swords were hidden. He activated the great dragon sword spirit, causing the thousands of swords to hum. His eyes flickered as he scanned the surroundings. He wanted to find the true peerless divine weapon. For a moment, the entire space was filled with sword radiance. Sword chi soared into the sky and was extremely dazzling. The sword sovereign also snorted coldly as his eyes shone brightly. A huge sword aura surged from his body, connecting the heavens and the earth. Rays of sword light spread out in all directions like waves, quickly covering the entire sword treasury. Duan Tianxing also roared as he activated the energy in his body with all his might. 3 violent bursts of energy covered the entire space, leaving nothing behind. Finally, under the combined efforts of the 3 great powerhouses, an extremely dazzling ray of light shone from the sky sword forest. The peerless divine weapon has appeared. Seeing that ray of light, everyone exclaimed in shock. In the next moment, under everyone's gaze, that ray of light turned into a bolt of lightning and charged towards the sword's sovereign. Damn it! Seeing this, Duan Tianxing roared angrily. He stretched out a huge palm of light and grabbed at the space before him. Lin Xian, on the other hand, shook his head slightly. This place was very strange. Since the hidden sword had chosen the sword lord, it was already destined. As expected, although Duan Tianxing's palm of light was terrifying, it was instantly torn apart by that ray of sword light. Soon, that ray of sword light arrived beside the sword sovereign. Seeing this, Duan Tianxing roared at the sky, his eyes filled with despair. Lin Xian was expressionless. This was what he had expected. However, this time, things went beyond his expectations, because suddenly 2 figures appeared behind him and charged towards the sword sovereign like lightning. Then 2 terrifying palms reached out and grabbed the treasured sword in front of the sword sovereign. It's them. Lin Xian looked at the 2 figures with a surprised expression. He naturally knew these 2 figures, but he did not expect them to dare to make a move at this time. One must know, that was the sword sovereign. The 2 figures were naturally the 7th Elder and Zhu Chun of the Divine Bird Palace. The 2 of them had been ordered by the Heavenly Netherbird to obtain the Peerless Divine Weapon. However, they did not know what the Peerless Divine Weapon was, and the Heavenly Netherbird did not tell them. Therefore, in their opinion, the sword in the sword sovereign's hand must be a peerless divine weapon. Therefore, they made a move. When these 2 people appeared, everyone was stunned. They did not expect that someone would dare to make a move on the sword sovereign. They were really bold. However, when they sensed the aura of these 2 people, they all screamed, "Eighth heaven of the honorable realm! Eighth heaven of the honorable realm!" In addition to Duan Tianqing and Yan Feng of the Palace of Gods of War, there were 2 eighth heaven honorables. This was too shocking. However, what shocked them even more was that the 2 figures were actually from the Divine Bird Palace. How is this possible? Since when did the Divine Bird Palace have 8th heaven honorables? Everyone was stunned. However, the sword sovereign snorted coldly. He waved his sleeve, and the long sword in front of him suddenly bloomed with a blazing light. Then, a sword light quickly slashed forward. The 7th Elder and Zhu Qin of the Divine Bird Palace were hit by the sword light. They immediately retreated and cracked the void. However, balls of black flames strangely rose from their bodies, forming a defense that blocked the sword light. Therefore, they did not suffer fatal injuries. The 2 landed on the ground and stared straight ahead. "You 2 stupid birds dare to come and snatch my things?" the sword sovereign said with disdain. The 7th Elder gritted his teeth and looked very serious. "No matter what, we will not let you take the peerless divine weapon away today." Behind them, Duan Tianqing saw this scene and was stunned for a moment. Then he laughed wildly. Good. Fellow Taoists of the Divine Bird Palace, why don't we join forces?" He could not fight against the sword sovereign, and it seemed that the 2 of them could not succeed either. Therefore, he thought of joining forces. 3 8th heaven honorables should be able to fight against the sword sovereign. After all, no matter how strong the sword sovereign was, he was now old and did not have much qi and blood in his body. Therefore, he could not display his peak strength. Chapter 1209. All right. Hearing Duan Tianqing's suggestion, the 7 elders quickly nodded. As long as they could stop the sword venerable and obtain the peerless weapon, it didn't matter who they joined forces with. Be careful. That kid is very strange. Duan Tianqing came to the 7th Elder's side and glanced in Lin Xian's direction. However, Lin Xian merely shrugged his shoulders and left the sword vault. The sword still belonged to the sword venerable, so he wouldn't do anything. Thus, he left the battle. Seeing Lin Xian leave, the sword venerable was expressionless, but Duan Tianqing and the rest secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Xian's strength wasn't inferior to theirs. If they really wanted to fight, there would be a lot of trouble. Now that he had left, it couldn't be better for them. In the next moment, the 3 of them formed a triangle and rushed toward the sword venerable. "It seems that I haven't fought for a long time, and the world has forgotten about this old man," the sword venerable said slowly. "All right, I'll show you what a peerless weapon is today." With that, the sword venerable's aura became stronger and stronger. The light in his eyes was like a peerless divine sword that directly tore through the void. With a clang, as if a sword had been unsheathed, the entire sky shook. With a slash of the sword, a terrifying sword chi flew forward like a thunderbolt. As soon as the sword chi appeared, the surrounding cultivators all fell to the ground, their faces pale and their bodies trembling. With their strength, they couldn't resist the sword chi from the sword venerable. Duan Tianxing and the other two were the first to bear the brunt. Their expressions changed drastically as they sensed danger. The unique and righteous, Duan Tianxing roared, and his body glowed brightly, forming a very thick defense that enveloped him. At the side, the seventh elder and Zhu Qin didn't dare to be careless. They quickly circulated their spirit energy and formed a huge, three-headed vermilion bloodbird that covered their bodies. In the face of this terrifying sword, they had no choice but to use their strongest defense. The terrifying sword chi fell from the sky like the Milky Way, shattering the void wherever it passed. In the next moment, it ruthlessly slashed Duan Tianxing and the other two, sending them flying. The green light on Duan Tianxing's body and the shadow of the divine bird on Seventh Elder's body rapidly cracked under the attack of the sword aura. The three of them felt their chi and blood churning. Many parts of their bodies were cut open by the sword chi. However, the three of them were eighth heaven venerables after all. Furthermore, the three of them were very powerful when they joined forces. In the end, they successfully resisted the sword. However, they weren't happy at all because the single sword venerable had only moved his finger. He hadn't even taken out his weapon, yet he had already created such a power. This was not good news for them. Lin Xian looked at this scene with a dignified expression. As expected of a sword venerable, he was indeed terrifying. Although he didn't have much time left, he could still display such a terrifying combat strength. It was really shocking. However, Lin Xian's attention was quickly diverted. Under the perception of the dragon sword soul, Lin Xian seemed to find that something was summoning him. His gaze shifted from the battlefield in front of him to the gigantic heaven and earth smelt in the sky. That feeling seemed to be coming from the huge furnace. The huge furnace was extremely magical. Countless lava waterfalls fell from the entrance, forming a magnificent scene. The temperature was extremely terrifying. Even seventh heaven venerables didn't dare to approach it. If he guessed correctly, this should be the fire used by the peerless figures in the past to refine weapons. A fire that could refine a peerless divine weapon was definitely extraordinary. Kid, what are you looking at? The Crimson Dragon asked from the side. I feel that there's something in the furnace. Something? Hearing this, the Crimson Dragon became excited. Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and get it. That fire isn't easy to deal with. Lin Xian expressed his worries. What's the problem? Don't you have 10,000 bee sting? Just absorb all the fire. Oh, right. This fire is good stuff. It'll be of great help to you when you refine weapons. 10,000 bee sting. The corner of Lin Xian's mouth twitched slightly. To be honest, he would have to pay a huge price to use that thing. However, in the end, he sighed. All right. This was because he really had no other choice now. Therefore, he quickly communicated with Zero. However, to his surprise, Zero didn't make any other requests this time. This made Lin Xian sigh in relief. This was because the price of using 10,000 bee sting was too great. If he could avoid using it, he wouldn't use it. However, he didn't expect that there would be an exception this time. Soon, Lin Xian seemed to have figured it out. The fire in the furnace that day was probably also beneficial to the 10,000 bee sting. Since he had the support of 10,000 bee sting, Lin Xian didn't delay any longer. He quickly soared into the sky. His actions immediately attracted everyone's attention. What's Lin Xian doing? Why is he flying into the sky? Could it be that he wants to interfere too? That shouldn't be. That's not the direction of the battlefield. It seems that he's flying toward the huge furnace in the sky. No way. What's there to investigate about that furnace? Moreover, I'm afraid that even Seventh Heaven Venerables wouldn't dare to approach that temperature. The group of people discussed fervently. They couldn't understand. They didn't even think of the possibility of it being a peerless divine weapon. Chapter 12:10. No one stopped him. This was undoubtedly good news for Lin Xian. He was very fast and arrived near the furnace in an instant. Then, with a flip of his palm, the 10,000 beast ding appeared in the void. With a low growl, Lin Xian injected his spiritual energy into the 1,000-beast cauldron. Soon after, the small black cauldron emitted a black glow. The birds and beasts on the cauldron swam continuously, as if they were about to come to life. A powerful devouring power gushed out and surged towards the flaming furnace in front of him. Boom! Suddenly, the void trembled. Countless flames surged and spread out in the sky. They seemed to be attracted by something and gathered towards the 10,000 beast ding. What? He wants to absorb those flames? Is he crazy? It can't be. Even an 8th level supremacy would avoid those flames. No matter how strong that kid is, he can't resist those flames. Everyone was shocked and puzzled. However, Duan Tianxing and the others sneered. This kid is really digging his own grave. I was still thinking about how to deal with him, but now he's courting death. That's even better. He'll be burned to death by those flames. Then we won't have to do anything. No one could understand Lin Xian's actions. They all thought that he was playing with fire. However, the Crimson Dragon, Zhao Shui, and Murong Qingcheng were very calm because they knew Lin Xian's methods. Indeed, the terrifying flames in the sky did not burn Lin Xian. Instead, they were all absorbed by the 10,000 beast ding in his hand. Not a single one was left. In the huge furnace in the sky, the lava gradually decreased, and the situation inside was gradually revealed. There were countless fragments in the furnace. They were probably all scrap metal from failed weapon refinement. However, amidst the debris, a faint green glow could be seen. Lin Xian's eyes lit up when he saw that green light. He could sense that the aura he had sensed earlier was emitted by that green light. It's not enough. Absorb more. Lin Xian continued to push the 10,000 beast ding to absorb the flames inside. The green light ahead became brighter and brighter. In the end, even the ordinary cultivators could see it. Oh my God, what is that? Green light. There's really a treasure in that furnace? How is that possible? How did that kid know? The group of people was extremely shocked. Duan Tianxing and the other two looked gloomy. They did not expect Ling Xian to be able to absorb those flames. What shocked them even more was that there were other treasures in those flames. Although he still didn't know what the treasure was, it must be something extraordinary to be able to exist in such a huge furnace. As the flames in the furnace decreased, everyone was finally able to see what the green light was. It was a long sword. Its entire body was green, like an emerald, sparkling and translucent. The green longsword stood among the thousands of pieces of scrap metal. It was like a star shining brightly. Divine, unparalleled weapon. When Lin Xian saw the jade green sword, these words suddenly appeared in his mind. This was because he could feel an unusually sharp aura from it. As the flames dwindled and the green light became brighter, Lin Xian was more and more certain that the sword Venerable's sword was not a divine weapon. And this green long sword in front of him could very well be the true, peerless godly weapon. Even the sword Venerable had realized this. The sword Venerable sighed. He had already obtained a treasured sword. According to the rules of this place, he could not lay his hands on any other treasured swords. Therefore, Even if the green sword was a divine weapon, he was probably not fated to have it. Duan Tianxing and the others were even more shocked. They gave up on attacking the sword venerable and stared at the green sword in the sky. Divine weapon. That's the real divine weapon. Duan Tianxing roared excitedly. The seventh elder and Zhu Chen's faces darkened. They had been busy fighting the sword venerable for half a day, only to discover that the sword in their opponent's hand was not a divine weapon. Their real target was in the sky. This made them want to vomit blood. However, it was not too late. Since the divine weapon had appeared, they had to obtain it. Only then would they be able to complete the mission given to them by the heavenly netherbird. The two of them let out a long howl as they rose from the ground and quickly flew towards the sky. They had to snatch the green treasured sword before Lin Xian did. However, just as they approached the green sword, their faces changed and they dodged to the side. Because the green sword felt threatened, it began to hum. A green light shot into the sky, as if it wanted to split the world in half. The sword chi was too terrifying. The sky could not withstand it. The terrifying aura caused everyone to tremble. At this moment, they discovered that this aura was exactly the same as the one they had felt in the outside world. Without a doubt, this green sword was a divine weapon. The seventh elder and Zhu Chen's hearts beat wildly as they looked at the sword chi. They had almost been split in half by the sword chi. Fortunately, they had the black flames left behind by the heavenly netherbird to protect them. Otherwise, they would have been in danger. However, what made them feel at ease was that after the jade green treasured sword unleashed a shocking attack, it once again regained its calm, as if it had fallen silent. Seeing this, the seventh elder and Zhu Chen did not delay and quickly attacked again. Behind them, Duan Tianxing also roared and rushed over. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He raised his hand and released several sword chi towards Duan Tianxing and the seventh elder. In an instant, the atmosphere was extremely tense. Below, the sword venerable did not attack. He looked at the sky and took a deep breath before returning to the side of the deity sword villa. This scene shocked everyone. They did not expect the sword venerable to give up. Even the people from the deity sword villa were confused. They asked in unison, "Elder Sword Venerable, are you really not going to fight for that divine sword? Yes, with your strength, you will definitely be able to get it." However, the sword venerable shook his head slightly. "Fate has been decided. We cannot force it. The rules of this place are very firm. You must not resist. Otherwise, it will cause a hopeless disaster." Hearing this, the disciples of the deity sword villa fell silent. They knew the sword venerable very well. He was an extremely ancient existence. Since he said this, he must have his reasons. Don't worry. Although that divine weapon is good, it is also a double-edged sword. Although obtaining it will greatly increase your strength, it will also bring endless trouble. Moreover, I feel that this sword is indeed extraordinary. According to my estimation, there should be an earth rank fragment in it. What? An earth rank fragment? Hearing this, everyone was overjoyed. A half-earth rank treasure that contained an earth rank fragment was definitely priceless. Chapter 12:11. Since the sword venerable had spoken, the deity sword villa did not participate in the fight for the divine weapon. Instead, they retreated to the side and watched quietly. Although the others around also had the same idea, they were not strong enough to fight against the flames in the sky. Therefore, no one dared to act rashly. At that moment, only Lin Xian and the other three were left in the sky. "Kid, I have to say that you're really lucky to have found a peerless divine weapon, but your luck has come to an end because you can't get this peerless divine weapon. It's destined to be mine." Duan Tianxing's voice was filled with excitement. On the other side, The seventh elder also said coldly, "Kid, we won't let you get the peerless divine sword." Faced with the three people's interception, Lin Xian did not say anything and directly used the dragon catcher hand. His spiritual power surged and drew out two true dragons. They circled around each other and formed a huge hand that quickly grabbed forward. The dragon catcher hand was said to be able to capture true dragons. At that moment, Lin Xian used it to grab the peerless divine sword in front of him. Seeing Lin Xian make a move, Duan Tianxing and the other two finally could not hold it in anymore. The three of them quickly charged toward Lin Xian. The three of them were very fast like lightning. Terrifying rays of light were like sabers and sword shadows that quickly swept forward. Duan Tianxing's murderous aura soared into the sky. He quickly threw out the Overlord Divine Fist, as if he wanted to blow Lin Xian apart with one punch. On the other side, the seventh elder and Zhu Qin joined forces and threw out two huge claws. They emitted a monstrous, murderous aura as they quickly grabbed at Lin Xian. The three of them were all 8th level supremacies. At that moment, they attacked with all their might. However, in the face of such a terrifying scene, Lin Xian was expressionless. He only made one move, which was to grab the 10,000 beast ding in his hand and swing it forward. Buzz. The flames that were absorbed from the 10,000 beast ding also surged out quickly. The sea of fire filled the sky. The terrifying flames burned space and time. Countless sea of fire spread and formed waves. In an instant, the attacks from the three of them were burned to ashes in the sea of fire. Not only that, the flames were like the phantom of a dragon that quickly rushed toward the three of them and enveloped them. "Ah, damn it, break for me!" Duan Tianxing roared madly. His body glowed brightly as he tried to break free from the terrifying flames. However, they had underestimated these flames. These flames were used by ancient powerhouses to refine peerless weapons. No one below the king level dared to touch them. It was only because Lin Xian had used the 10,000 beast ding that he dared to take it. There was no way anyone else would be able to subdue it. The seventh elder and the 8th elder roared madly. Black lines appeared on their bodies and quickly crawled all over their bodies. Then, a ball of black flames burned fiercely and enveloped them, quickly resisting the sea of fire that filled the sky. It was fine without the black flames, but as soon as the black flames appeared, the sea of fire that filled the sky seemed to be enraged. Suddenly, an incomparable radiance blossomed. More and more flames converged toward the two of them, and even Duan Tianxing felt the pressure lessen significantly. "Damn it, why is it like this?" Seeing this, the seventh elder and Zhu Chen's expressions turned ugly. They had only wanted to use the black flames to resist, but they had not expected such an unforeseen event to occur. It was too late for them to withdraw now. This was because the surrounding flames had completely covered them. If they withdrew the black flames now, the surrounding sea of fire would burn them to ashes. However, if they did not withdraw the black flames, they would attract more and more sea of fire. This was simply a situation of certain death. Therefore, the two of them were destined to die. In the end, they were burned to ashes by the merciless sea of fire, leaving nothing behind. Duan Tianxing was lucky enough to escape with his life, but one of his arms was also burned to ashes. 3 great 8th level curses, 2 dead and 1 injured. This scene shocked everyone. In particular, the cultivators from the deity sword Villa were terrified. Fortunately, their sword Venerable did not make a move. Otherwise, they would not have ended up well. In the next moment, everyone looked at the figure in the sky with horror. This was too shocking. He had directly burned 2 8th level supremacies to death. Probably no one would dare to provoke Lin Xian now, let alone have any ideas about the peerless sword. To be honest, Lin Xian was also very surprised by this result. This was because he could feel the power of the flames, which could threaten an 8th level supremacies. However, it was impossible to completely burn them to death at that time. Of course, this was also the fault of the 2 people from the Divine Bird Palace. They used the black flames to attract the endless sea of fire, which caused this scene. However, this was also good. It saved him a lot of trouble. At least now, no one dared to stop him from obtaining the peerless sword. In the next moment, Lin Xian activated the 10,000 beast ding and put the emerald sword into the cauldron. After doing this, he heaved a sigh of relief. His figure flashed, and Lin Xian returned to Zhao Shui and the others. After taking away the peerless sword, there was no point in staying here any longer. Therefore, he wanted to leave. However, the others did not think so. There were still many treasured swords in the sword treasury. They were all good things. They still wanted to try. Murong Qingcheng did not leave either. This was because many warriors in her family had not obtained any treasured swords yet. Therefore, Lin Xian and Zhao Shui left first while the others searched for opportunities here. Lin Xian, where are we going? Zhao Shui asked. Just now, she also obtained a half-earth level treasure. Although she did not use a sword, she could sell it and get a lot of spirit stones. Find a safe place to rest. I want to take a look at the peerless sword over there. Previously, Lin Xian only put it away and did not look at it carefully. Now that he had time, he must study it carefully. Soon, they found an empty hall. Then, the Crimson Dragon set up a defensive formation. Lin Xian waved his hand and summoned the 10,000 beast ding again. Suddenly, a hot aura gushed out from the 10,000 beast ding, accompanied by a sharp edge. A jade-green longsword slowly appeared and floated in the void. It was like a jade-green gemstone, incomparably deep. However, if one looked closely, they would see that there were countless small cracks on the sword. Not only that, the jade-green sword was broken. 1/3 of the sword's tip was missing. It could be said that it was broken. However, the aura emitted from it was unusually sharp, far surpassing that of a half-earth level treasure. Even the Lone Star sword could not compare. The Crimson Dragon also looked at it carefully. Then he said slowly, "This should be an earth-level treasure. However, it is very broken now." "What? You mean this is an earth-level treasure?" Lin Xian was surprised. He did not expect this peerless sword to have such a terrifying origin. He had seen the power of an earth-level treasure. After all, the 10,000 beast ding was an earth-level treasure. Its power was definitely not something they could imagine. He did not expect the long sword in front of him to be an earth-level treasure. Chapter 12:12. However, unlike the 10,000 beast ding, this sword was severely damaged, so its power was greatly reduced. It was impossible for it to display the true power of an Earth-class weapon. However, compared to a normal half-Earth-class weapon, it was still much stronger. On the side, Zhao Shui also used her void eye to observe carefully. She then said in a low voice, "I'm afraid this sword can't be used easily." "Oh, what did you find?" "There's not much energy left inside. It's barely enough to keep it from breaking. If this energy is released, the entire sword will shatter. At that time, this Earth-class weapon will also shatter. So that's how it is." Lin Xian was shocked. Zhao Shui's eye technique was unparalleled, so this information should be accurate. How many times can this sword be used if we want to display the sword energy that connected the heavens and earth? Probably around 3 times. Zhao Shui observed carefully. 3 times. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and thought for a while. "That should be enough. What do you want to do with it?" Zhao Shui asked. "This sword is very powerful. It's a waste to use it against normal warriors. What do you think about using it against the heavenly netherbird?" "You want to deal with the heavenly netherbird?" Xiao Shui was very surprised to hear Lin Xian's words. The heavenly Netherbird's power was obvious to all. Even a king-level warrior might not be able to defeat it. And now Lin Xian actually wanted to make a move against him. This was truly shocking. However, when she thought of Ling Xian's actions, Xiao Shui understood. However, there was one thing that she was very confused about. Could this sword really hurt the heavenly Netherbird? I don't know if it can hurt it, but one thing is for sure. The heavenly Netherbird is very afraid of this sword. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sent 2 people from the Holy Bird Palace to steal it. With this sword, they would be able to deal with the heavenly Netherbird. The next step was to find the key to the star chain. If they had it in their hands, the heavenly Netherbird would be even more afraid. Of course, they couldn't let those people break the array. Otherwise, they would be in danger when the heaven Netherbird came in. Next, Lin Xian tried to find a way to control the sword. This treasured sword was dark green in color. It floated in the air, and on its hilt were the words Song Song. The Ashen Pine Sword. Could it be that this treasured sword was the weapon used by the peerless powerhouse in the past? When Lin Xian saw these 2 words, his heart also burned with passion. This powerhouse named Song Song was able to suppress even the heavenly Netherbird back then. One could imagine how powerful he was. The sword he had left behind was absolutely terrifying. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's eyes burned with passion as he reached for the Ashen Pine Sword. Normally, the Ashen Pine Sword would flicker with light. Although its aura was fierce, it would always be concealed. However, once it received a threat from the outside world, the long sword would emit a hum, and streaks of dark green sword light would soar into the sky. Lin Xian used the shadow of the red lotus armor. Even so, he was still hurt by the sword chi. His blood and chi roiled, and cracks appeared on the armor. This was only the sword chi emitted by the long sword. If it was controlled by someone else, it would probably be able to split his red lotus armor. As expected of an earth-rank treasure, it's really terrifying. Lin Xian exclaimed. Other than the complete 10,000 beast ding in his hands, he didn't have anything that could compete with the other party. Of course, the great dragon sword soul was an exception. Feeling the violent sword chi, Lin Xian immediately used the great dragon sword soul. Streaks of dragon-shaped sword shadows flew forward, emitting deep dragon roars and sword cries. It was amazing. When the sword chi condensed by the great dragon sword soul wrapped around the Ashen Pine Sword, the latter suddenly stopped going berserk and calmed down. Seeing this, Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. The great dragon sword soul was indeed an offensive saint art. It was incomparably mysterious. Even the powerful earth-rank treasure sword could only calm down in front of it. Taking a deep breath, countless dragon-shaped sword chi wrapped around his palm. Then Lin Xian grabbed the sword in front of him. In the next moment, he grabbed the Ashen Pine Sword in his hand. This time, the Ashen Pine Sword did not resist. He slightly channeled his spiritual power into the Ashen Pine Sword. Then the Ashen Pine Sword shone brightly. Countless green sword rays surged out and instantly dyed the palace green. Success. Seeing this, Xiao Shui breathed a sigh of relief. The next step was to find the key to remove the nebula chain. After removing the formation, Lin Xian and Xiao Shui left the secluded palace. Not long after they left, they met many warriors. The Shun family was leading them. When the Shun family saw Lin Xian, their eyes lit up. It couldn't be helped. Now, everyone knew that the peerless godly weapon was in Lin Xian's hands. It was a peerless godly weapon. It was something left behind by an ancient expert. One could imagine how precious it was. If anyone could get their hands on it, their strength would definitely increase greatly. It could even bring their family to a higher level, especially the House of Kings. They were determined to get their hands on it. So now they looked at Lin Xian with envy. When Lin Xian saw these people, he knew what they were thinking. He snorted coldly. Suddenly, an extremely green sword Qi appeared behind him. The green sword radiance emitted an extremely terrifying aura. It was like the might of a king. Boom. Feeling this terrifying aura, the warriors in front trembled. Their eyes were filled with fear. It was as if they were not facing a long sword, but an extremely terrifying king. In an instant, the 9th young master, 11th young master, and 13th young master's faces turned pale, especially the 9th young master. Besides fear, there was also a strong sense of jealousy in his eyes. Of course, in this situation, he did not dare to do anything. As for the Shen family's elders, they were shocked when they saw this. How can it be? How can he control such a peerless godly weapon in such a short time? They were too shocked. Although peerless godly weapons were powerful, they were not easy to subdue. This was especially true for weapons passed down from ancient times. Some of them even needed to be refined again. So, in their opinion, although Lin Xian had obtained the peerless godly weapon, he could not control it in a short time. This gave them a chance. If they planned carefully, they might be able to snatch the peerless godly weapon back from him. But now, they had completely given up. Judging from the current situation, Lin Xian had already controlled the peerless godly weapon. Otherwise, he could not emit that kind of sword radiance. This made them extremely shocked. They could not understand what method Lin Xian had used to subdue the peerless godly weapon in such a short time. Perhaps even the House of Kings did not have such a method. Chapter 12:13. Young Master, let's retreat first, the elder of the Shun family quickly advised. He was afraid that Jiu Gongzi and the rest would rush forward. All right, Jiu Gongzi and the rest did not dare to take the risk in the face of the terrifying sword Dao Qi. They immediately led everyone away. Seeing the Shun family's martial artists leave, the surrounding martial artists felt like they were in a dream. The House of Kings was scared away without even making a move. Just thinking about it made their blood boil. The House of Kings was the most powerful force in the Tianwu continent. It was an existence that everyone could only look up to. But now, someone had used their aura to scare away the House of Kings. This was the dream of every martial artist. However, Lin Xian was probably the only one who could do such a thing. Seeing the Shun family's people leave, Lin Xian felt great. Once upon a time, the House of Kings was like a mountain that he could only look up to. But now he had grown to the point where he could compete with the House of Kings. Of course, he knew that the House of Kings was terrifying. It was impossible for them to only have this much strength. However, he was not afraid of anyone in the remote sky secret realm. Lin Xian's eyes were like lightning as he looked around. He then said in a deep voice, "Everyone, there is one thing that I would like to remind everyone. We are not enemies. There is no need to fight to the death as soon as we meet. Our common enemy is the heavenly nether bird. Don't forget that if we can't find a way in a month, the heavenly nether bird will appear, and none of us will be able to survive." Hearing this, many martial artists' faces turned pale, and their bodies trembled. That's right. They had only been fighting for treasures and had forgotten that they were still in danger. They were still under the threat of the heavenly nether bird. In a month's time, the heavenly nether bird would appear. The heavenly nether bird was extremely terrifying. None of them would be able to stop it. When the heavenly nether bird appeared, they would have no way to survive. Seeing everyone's pale faces, Lin Xian said again, "Of course, you don't have to be so emotional. As long as we find the key to the star chains, there might still be a glimmer of hope." The key to the star chains. Yes, the heavenly nether bird was bound by the mysterious star chain. As long as he could find the key to the star chain, he would have the qualifications to negotiate with the heavenly Netherbird. Thinking of this, everyone's eyes regained their luster. Many of them clenched their fists and swore to find the key to the star chains. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that everyone's emotions had been roused. The pine hall was actually quite big. If it was just Lin Xian searching by himself, it might have taken a lot of effort. However, things were different now. With so many people searching together, it wouldn't take long for them to find the location of the stellar key. This way, it would save him the trouble of looking for it. When the time came, he would only need to break the array formation. Sure enough, in the following days, other than searching for treasures, they also set off a trend of searching. Because this matter was closely related to everyone's lives, no one dared to be careless. In the end, after everyone's hard work, they ruled out other places and finally locked on 2 places. These 2 places were completely different. One was in the north, and the other was in the south. The only thing they had in common was that these 2 places were protected by powerful spirit arrays. They should be the core of the entire Deep Pine Palace. The one in the south was called the Pine Hall, and the one in the north was called the Star Hall. This news was like a hurricane that instantly spread throughout the Pine Hall. In an instant, everyone knew. However, these people didn't make a move. Instead, they began to discuss intensely. This was because they didn't have much time left. Moreover, the array formation was so powerful that with their strength, they would only be able to break through one place. Therefore, it was extremely important to find a location to break through. Many of them chose the Star Hall. This was because from the name, it was obvious that this hall was related to the stellar chains. It was very likely that the key to the stellar chains was hidden inside. Once they had the key, they would have the qualifications to negotiate with the Heaven Netherbird. However, there were others who didn't think so. As far as they were concerned, whether or not they could break the astral chains was meaningless to them. This was because even if the Heaven Netherbird had the stellar chains with their strength, they wouldn't be able to contend against it. Therefore, breaking through the stellar chains was extremely unimportant. Instead, it was the other hall that attracted their attention. The Pine Hall. This place was called the Pine Hall. Lin Xian's treasure sword was also called the Pine Hall. It was obvious that the name Pine Hall was the name of the ancient powerhouse. Since the hall was named Pine Hall, it could be said to be the most important place in the entire Pine Hall. Presumably, there was a defense room that controlled the Big Dipper 7 Stars formation. Moreover, according to these people's estimations, the Pine Hall didn't only have a control room. There were also other treasures, such as cultivation techniques and the like. This was because after searching for so long in the Pine Hall, they had obtained many treasures and even weapons. However, the only thing that they hadn't obtained was a cultivation technique. Thinking about it, those cultivation methods should be hidden in this Pine Palace. Therefore, these people urgently wanted to enter the Pine Hall. In an instant, the crowd was divided into 2 factions. The factions that supported breaking through the Pine Hall with a Palace of War, and the Shun family's House of Kings. There were also the Divine Bird Palace and many other rank 6 sects. The factions that supported the Star Hall were the Murong family and the Merry Forest. There were also many rank 6 sects that supported them. It could be said that both sides were evenly matched. No one could convince the other. In the end, these people decided to split up. The Palace of War and the Shun family led a group of warriors to the Pine Hall in the south. The Murong family and the Merry Forest teamed up to break through the Star Hall in the north. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes when he heard the news. However, in the end, he chose to go to the Star Hall. This was because even if they found a control room, they wouldn't be able to stop the heavenly Netherbird. If that was the case, it would be better to find the key to break the Star Hall. Lin Xian, brought the Crimson Dragon and flew towards the Star Hall with Zhao Shui. Not long after, they saw a blue pagoda. The pagoda was tall and majestic. The material on the outside was like the stars, shining brightly. Not only that, they also saw a mysterious array that covered the entire Star Hall. This meant that they could only enter if they broke the array. Everyone, we can only break the array if we work together. Murong Qingqing's expression was very serious. After that, the Murong family and the Mary Force House of Kings sent out array masters. They worked together with other warriors who were proficient in array masters. They began to research and break the array. At the same time, the Palace of War and the Shen family arrived at the Pine Hall in the north. Chapter 12:14. At the same time, the Palace of War and the Shen family also arrived at the Pine Pavilion in the north. It was a very simple and unadorned pavilion. It gave off an ancient and desolate aura, as well as a terrifying pressure. That kind of pressure even surpassed that of a king. This made these people very excited. A secret manual left behind by an ancient expert was definitely a rare treasure. If they could obtain one or two of it, their strength would definitely increase greatly. Thinking of this, these people were also excited and quickly formed a team to crack it. In a moment, both sides were in full swing. At the Star Pavilion, the Crimson Dragon held his chin and continued to study. Lin Xian's expression was also serious as he said in a deep voice, "It seems that this array is not inferior to the Big Dipper array outside. It is indeed not as simple as the Big Dipper array outside." The Crimson Dragon also nodded, but this time, our situation is better because we still have enough time. Although they were under pressure now, they still had a month's time. They were not under the Heaven Netherbird's feet like last time. They believed that with the Crimson Dragon's ability, they should be able to crack it. If that's the case, then we won't delay any longer. Lin Xian stopped his work and said loudly, "Everyone, how is your research going? This array is too exquisite. As expected of an ancient array. Yeah, I have never seen such a profound array in my life. It will be very difficult to crack it. Why don't you let me think about it?" The group of array masters looked troubled. Indeed, with their strength, it was too difficult to break this ancient array. But then they all looked at Lin Xian and said, "Kid, how did you enter the Big Dipper array last time? Yeah, we couldn't even crack that array. How did you get in? Are you an array master? Or do you have an array master with you?" Everyone looked at Lin Xian with suspicion. However, the corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up slightly. "I do have a formation expert by my side. If you guys can listen to his orders, you might be able to break this formation very quickly." "What? There really is an array master? Where is he? Ask him to come out. This old man must learn from him." The group of formation grandmasters were all excited. It couldn't be helped. The other party was an array formation grandmaster that could break the Big Dipper formation. His strength far surpassed theirs. If they could befriend such a person, perhaps their array formation standards would increase greatly. This was an opportunity that might not be encountered even in 100 years. Therefore, these people were abnormally excited. "All right, ruzz along. It's your turn." Lin Xian waved his hand. "All right, Ben Huang will reluctantly teach them." The Crimson Dragon walked out with his head held high. "Since you guys are sincerely asking for guidance, then Ben Huang will be merciful and tell you." "That's right. I am that formation master." Puff! Hearing this, everyone's saliva sprayed out, especially those array masters. All of them widened their eyes, and their beards curled up. "Brat, you dare to tease this old man. Damn snake, how dare you take advantage of me?" The group of array masters stomped their feet in anger. Seeing this scene, the Crimson Dragon was also unhappy. A group of ignorant humans. Ben Huang is so angry that he doesn't cherish such a good opportunity. Seeing so many array masters quarreling with a snake, the surrounding people were all stunned. Lin Xian, what the hell are you doing? The elders were also very confused. However, Lin Xian shrugged and pointed at the Crimson Dragon. I told you, it's the array master you're looking for. Hearing this, the array masters were so angry that their noses became crooked. All right, all right, all right. I'd like to see what tricks a snake can play. Brat, I'm really angry. If you don't give me a reasonable explanation today, don't blame me for not letting you go. A snake actually knows about formations? You must be dreaming. Are you still asleep? The group of people didn't believe it. Ben Huang is so angry. Look carefully. The Crimson Dragon stomped his feet in anger. Then he turned and pointed at the array in front of him. Do you know what array this is? This is the Migres fly array. This array has a total of 124 variations. Among them, there are only 2 life gates. The rest are all dead. If you take a wrong step, you'll be doomed eternally. Moreover, this array absorbs the power of the stars and contains the 5 elements technique. It can be said that it's very complicated. It's not something people like you can understand. The Crimson Dragon's words silenced the array masters, and the surrounding warriors looked at each other. Judging from his boastful manner, he didn't seem like a liar. Could he really be an array master? But how could this be possible? A snake was actually an array master? This was unacceptable. The array masters were very shocked because what the Crimson Dragon said was completely correct. They had never even heard of some of these arrays. Then, do you have a way to break it? An old man asked in a trembling voice. Use the twin yin-yang formation and the reverse 5 elements technique to break it. The Crimson Dragon said snappily, I reckon you don't know these 2 things at all. You might not even have heard of them. This time, the array masters didn't mock him. Instead, they were shocked. Then one by one, they screamed. What? The twin yin-yang formation? That's a lost array. You really know the twin yin-yang formation? These old men were very excited. They only knew the reverse 5 elements technique, and the twin yin-yang formation was only heard of in legends, but they had never seen it before. Now, there was a snake who knew the twin yin-yang formation. This shocked them and made them very confused. The Crimson Dragon curled his lips, then stretched out his dragon claws and waved them in the air. Suddenly, 2 balls of black and white gas appeared on the dragon claws. They kept spinning and finally formed a yin-yang diagram. That's right. It's really the twin yin-yang formation. This scene is exactly the same as in the legends. Great Master. You really are a great master. Senior, I offended you just now. Please don't take it to heart. Great Master, are you still accepting disciples? What do you think of me? It's okay if you don't accept disciples. I can be your follower. I can even serve tea and water. At this moment, a group of array formation masters had gathered around the dark red divine dragon and were shrieking. The surrounding martial artists were all dumbfounded. That's an array formation grandmaster. He was in existence that all the major forces treated as a guest of honor. Normally, he was also highly respected by others, but now they didn't look like masters at all. They looked like a group of children. The Murong family and the elders of Merry Woods twitched their mouths. Murong Qingchen, on the other hand, was chuckling. She was also aware of the dark red godly dragon's miraculous abilities. Presumably, under its guidance, they should be able to break through the Star Pavilion's formation. Chapter 12:15. All right, stop arguing. Line up properly. The Crimson Dragon waved his hand impatiently. All right, great God, we'll listen to you. Immediately, The array masters lined up neatly. Seeing the scene, the surrounding people's jaws dropped even further. Were they still array masters? Why did it feel like they were more obedient than the disciples? It wasn't that they didn't understand, but that the world was changing too quickly. The Crimson Dragon nodded in satisfaction and waved his hand. Next, I'll assign you a task. You must complete it well. If I'm satisfied, I can teach you a thing or two. Really? Hearing this, the array masters were excited. Great God, don't worry. We promise to complete the task. All right, let's cut to the chase. The Crimson Dragon commanded. You stand in the direction of the fire gate. You stand in the direction of the water gate. You stand in the direction of the earth gate. The Crimson Dragon commanded quickly. Soon, the array masters stood in different directions. Next, use the reverse 5 elements technique to break it. I'll use the twin yin-yang formation to help you. With that, the Crimson Dragon waved his claws and formed a black and white array. In the next moment, the array masters worked together to break it. As time passed, the chi in the entire Hidden Skies secret realm became tense. This was because they didn't have much time left. Soon, the heavenly Netherbird would break the Big Dipper 7 stars formation outside and enter the Pine Palace. Then it would be their doomsday. As for whether they could stop the heavenly Netherbird, it would depend on their luck. At the Pine Palace, the array masters from the Palace of Ares and the Shun family led a group of people to quickly study it. However, they didn't make any substantial progress. Up ahead, a group of formation masters surrounded the extremely profound formation and sighed incessantly. Some of them even pulled out their hair. How is it? Still no clue? Duan Tianqing asked. At this moment, he was still tall and straight, but his empty sleeve was a bit desolate. This was the arm that was burned off in the battle with Lin Xian. Although he still had an immortal golden pill, he did not dare to use it. Because he still had to face the heavenly Netherbird, he had to save his life at the last moment. Therefore, this arm had not grown out yet. However, it was clear that Duan Tianqing was not in the mood to care about his arm. He stared straight ahead and asked about the array formation. The array master from the Palace of Ares shook his head and sighed. It's not that we don't want to break it, but we really don't have a clue. This array is too profound. It's an ancient array. I'm afraid it'll be difficult for us to break it. But don't worry, we've found some clues. We should be able to take action in a few days. Okay, you have to hurry. You must break the formation before the Heaven Serene bird comes in. Duan Tianqing said in a deep voice, Don't worry, we won't joke around with our lives. However, whether or not it can be broken will depend on the will of the heavens. The array master from the Palace of Gods of War sighed. Then he walked forward and continued his research. Unlike the gloomy atmosphere at Deep Pine Hall, the Star Pavilion on the other side was in full swing. Under the lead of the Crimson Dragon, a group of array masters began their journey to break the array formation. Soon, they broke the array formation with irresistible force. Ha ha! Great God, you're too strong. You can even break this ancient array formation. That's right, Senior. I have a whole new level of respect for you. I didn't expect your technique to be so exquisite. I didn't expect it to be like this. I feel like I've wasted all these years. The group of array masters was very excited. They were as excited as children. On the other hand, the Crimson Dragon said proudly, Not bad, not bad. You've all done well. Don't worry, I won't mistreat you. With the Crimson Dragon's command, Lin Xian and the rest did not need to do anything. They just quietly cultivated. After all, no one knew what was going on inside the Star Pavilion. It had been 7 days since they started breaking the array formation. They had also broken more than half of the array formation in front of them. After another 3 days, the array formation in front of them was finally broken. Ha ha! It's finally broken. The Crimson Dragon was like an old monster, constantly shouting. The array masters were also excitedly waving their fists. Godly skill. It's really godly. Heavens, I actually broke the ancient array formation with my own hands. I'm not dreaming, am I? Just this experience alone is enough for me to brag about for the rest of my life. The array masters were too excited. The surrounding people were even more shocked. They did not expect to break the ancient array formation in just 10 days. This was much better than what they had expected. Since it's broken, let's go in. Lin Xian stood up, his eyes shining. Then the group carefully set off forward. At the same time, there was also good news from the Deep Pine Hall. Everyone, we finally found a way to break it. I believe that as long as we work together, we will definitely be able to break it. One of the array masters roared excitedly. It was not easy. They had fought for 10 days and their hair had turned white. Finally, they came up with a solution. Duan Tianxing and the others were also excited. They said anxiously, no matter what method we use, we must break the array formation. If you have any requests, just tell us. We will definitely help you. They were too excited because the interior of the Deep Pine Hall not only had the array formation control room, but also countless secret cultivation techniques. Those were the real peerless treasures. Not only could they enjoy them, but they could also bring them back for their family disciples to learn and strengthen their family. Humph, those idiots still want to break the Star Pavilion. What's in there? How can it be comparable to the Deep Pine Hall? That's right. This is a secret cultivation technique left behind by an ancient expert. If I can learn it, I will definitely be able to defeat that Lin Xian. Yan Feng gritted his teeth. Until now, he had not fully recovered from his injuries. It was all thanks to Lin Xian. Therefore, when he thought of that figure, he was filled with murderous intent. It was ridiculous that they did not know that Lin Xian and the others had already entered the Star Pavilion. If they knew, they would probably be in the mood to cry. On the other side, Lin Xian led the group into the Star Pavilion. It had to be said that the Star Pavilion was indeed magical. After they entered, they found that they did not believe in the pavilion at all. Beneath their feet and the ceiling were all blue. It was as if countless stars were shining in the sky. The surrounding walls were incomparably deep, and there were shooting stars streaking across from time to time. It was as if they had entered a boundless starry sky instead of a tall building. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. It's like a real starry sky. The group of people was amazed. Lin Xian was also surprised. He had never seen such a magical scene before, so he took a few more glances. Chapter 12:16. In the next moment, his heart skipped a beat, as if a bolt of lightning had flashed across his mind. These stars don't seem ordinary. Lin Xian looked at the starry sky around him and seemed to have realized something. Both of you try to feel it. Maybe you'll find something. Lin Xian said to Murong Qingqing and Zhao Shui. The two of them believed in Lin Xian's words and started to feel the starry sky around them. You don't say. I'm really enlightened, Murong Qingqing said as she blinked her beautiful eyes. Yes, I also sensed a mysterious force. Zhao Shui nodded. The Crimson Dragon also looked around and said, Kid, this place is very strange. It seems like there's only this space. You mean there's nothing else but this starry sky? Lin Xian asked. Yes, the entire Star Pavilion is filled with this starry sky. There's nothing else. If we want to find the key to the star chain, we'll have to start from this starry sky. The starry sky's mysteries were soon known by everyone. Then, some people were pleasantly surprised. They were happy because this space was very mysterious and had a mysterious force. If they tried to feel it, they might be able to gain something. But they were worried because it would be difficult to find the key to the star chain in such a mysterious place. But no matter what, they had to give it a try. Therefore, many people sat down cross-legged and tried to feel the starry sky around them. Many people even tried to feel the existence of the key to the starry sky. Lin Xian also looked around with his hands behind his back. Looking at the boundless starry sky, his heart was filled with emotions. Gradually, his horizons were broadened, especially the meteors that flashed by. It reminded him of a sword technique, meteor from outer space. Could it be that this starry sky map contains some kind of martial arts technique? Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat because he realized that the meteors were similar to his sword technique. They were so fast and flashed by, brilliant but short. Maybe it's possible. Lin Xian continued to look. Gradually, he found some patterns in the meteors, as if the stars were moving along a certain path. The meteors seemed to have turned into swords, flying through the sky like a rain of swords. Gradually, Lin Xian entered a state of selflessness. Not only him, but Murong Qingcheng and Zhao Shui had also entered a mysterious state. Even the Crimson Dragon was grinning from ear to ear. Everyone seemed to have gained something from the starry sky. In the blink of an eye, another 5 days had passed. On this day, Lin Xian suddenly awoke from his comprehension, and clarity returned to his eyes. Then he took a deep breath, and a boundless aura erupted from his body. It was like a sea of stars, incomparably deep. Following Lin Xian's movements, Murong Qingcheng and Zhao Shui also opened their eyes. I seem to have sensed a mysterious power of the stars. I wonder what you have sensed. Murong Qingcheng asked. Eyes of the stars. Those eyes seemed to contain a mysterious power. Zhao Shui's eyes sparkled. On the other hand, Lin Xian saw a sword technique that was as vast as the sea of stars. Ben Huang saw the Big Dipper formation. The Crimson Dragon also joined in. Hearing these different answers, everyone fell silent and fell into deep thought. It seems that the starry sky is more mysterious than we thought. It allows us to see different things. Moreover, these things are very suitable for us. Zhao Shui sighed, as expected of something left behind by a peerless ancient expert. It is indeed mysterious. Murong Qingcheng was also shocked. Lin Xian was a little worried because until now he had not found any trace of the stellar chain key. Was there really a stellar chain key here? The surrounding people also had the same doubts. Although they had gained many benefits, they still had not found the key. If you want to find the key, you have to leave the starry sky. At this moment, Zero's voice sounded. Leave the starry sky? How do you do that? Lin Xian was puzzled. That will depend on your own comprehension. After saying that, Zero went silent. My own enlightenment? Leave the starry sky. Hearing this, Lin Xian fell into deep thought. This starry sky was in the stellar tower. Naturally, leaving the stellar tower meant leaving the starry sky. However, Zero obviously did not mean that. Moreover, there could not be a key outside the stellar tower. In other words, if they had to leave this starry sky, they had to be in the stellar tower. Only then could they find the key. It seemed that there were other spaces in the stellar tower other than this starry sky. It was just that they had not been discovered yet. After figuring this out, Lin Xian's eyes were as sharp as a sword as he quickly scanned the surroundings. However, he only saw a boundless night sky. Everyone, I don't know if you have a way to leave this starry sky. In the end, Lin Xian told everyone about this so that they could collectively think of a way. In the following time, everyone tried to leave this starry sky. Some people ran madly in one direction, but in the end, they found that they were still under the starry sky. It was as if the starry sky was boundless and was truly a vast universe. No, we can't run out at all. This starry sky can't be an independent space, right? If that's really the case, who knows how big this space is? I just flew for a while. With my speed, I can already fly out of the Pine Palace. However, I still can't fly out of this starry sky. Could this be a real starry sky? Everyone was extremely surprised because they could not think of a way to leave this starry sky. Of course, this was apart from leaving the stellar tower. Even the older generation members of the king clans were frowning. Could it be that this is also an array, similar to an illusion array? Although we are running in one direction, under the effect of the array, we are just going around in circles. A formation master proposed such an idea. It's possible. This is definitely an illusion array. Hearing this, many people nodded in agreement because this was the only way that would make sense. However, the Crimson Dragon shook his head. It's not an array because I don't feel the power of an array. This should be an even more mysterious existence. Who was the Crimson Dragon? He was an array master and the person who led them here. Therefore, they believed his words. Everyone believed him without a doubt. If it's not an array, then what is it? Everyone was very puzzled. After that, they stayed here again for 3 days and 3 nights to study carefully. However, they still did not find anything. Not only that, but they also encountered new problems. Oh no, we can't find the way back. Damn it, the door is gone. What? The door is gone? Hearing this, everyone panicked. They quickly searched but found that the door they came in through was really gone. Chapter 12:17. At this moment, the scenery around them was like a real starry sky. The sky and earth were filled with stars in all directions. It was boundless and boundless. It was as if they were really in the universe. Damn it, are we really trapped here? Someone roared madly. He was unwilling to give up and attacked the void. However, their attacks seemed to sink into the sea and did not cause any waves. Next, they tried various methods, but they did not find the way back. It was as if they had really been exiled into the void of the universe. Gradually, they seemed to have lost track of time. No one knew how much time had passed. From what they knew, it seemed like a month had passed. At this time, the heavenly netherbird outside had already entered. However, the stellar pavilion they were in was not attacked at all. There was also no movement. Therefore, they really did not know what was happening outside. Gradually, 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years, everyone was completely lost in the starry sky. In the end, they decided that they could not sit still and wait for death. They had to find a way out. Therefore, they set off in one direction. This time, they would not stop until they got out. However, they seemed to have walked for 3 years and still could not see the end. This made countless people despair. Many people even had white hair overnight. No, if this continues, I'm afraid we will really die here. A few of the elders from the king's families were worried because they found that the spiritual power and vitality in their bodies were quickly disappearing. Some of the older ones even began to wither. Now, everyone had long lost their fighting spirit. There was only endless despair and fear. Lin Xian seemed to have become silent. He had been trying to find a way out. However, he had tried all of them, and none of them had succeeded. Fortunately, he had the dragon sword spirit in his body, which allowed him to stay awake at all times. Therefore, he did not lose his fighting spirit like the people around him. However, they could not go on like this. Lin Xian, do you have any ideas? Are we really going to be trapped here until we die? Zhao Shui frowned. On the other side, Murong Qingqing's face was tense, and she did not say a word. Don't worry, things are not as bad as we think. Although it seems like many years have passed, it has not been that long. What did you find? Upon hearing Lin Xian's words, Murong Qingqing asked in confusion. Although the blood and qi of those elders has withered and become incomparably old, have you all noticed that our cultivation hasn't increased by much? It is true that those elders have aged. However, we are all quite talented. Under normal circumstances, we would have reached the 8th or ninth heavenly layer of exalted realm in 30 to 50 years. But now, our cultivation levels are still at the same level. Don't you think it's strange? As soon as these words came out, it immediately woke up many people, especially Morong Qingcheng and Zhao Shui. Their bodies trembled, and their eyes were filled with shock. That's right. Lin Xian was right. With our aptitude, I'm afraid we would have already advanced. But now they didn't advance, which meant that there was a problem with the timing. And if there was a problem with time, it meant that what they had experienced before was just an illusion. It's not all an illusion. At the very least, our mental states have changed, Lin Xian explained. However, he didn't say anything else. Instead, he began to comprehend again because he seemed to have found some clues. In the boundless starry sky, in the vast universe, lost oneself. Could this be an examination of one's will? Lin Xian guessed, because it was very likely, after such a long time, if one's will wasn't strong enough, they would have collapsed long ago. Looking at the surrounding warriors, it was obvious. However, he remained firm and didn't waver, but he still didn't walk out of this starry sky. In other words, this wasn't an examination of one's will. Then what is it? Lin Xian frowned. He kept looking around at the starry sky and fell into endless thoughts. He wanted to ask Zero, but in the end, he gave up. He had to rely on himself for this matter. However, it was this process that made his heart skip a beat. Zero was in the mysterious space in his body, and the mysterious space in his body was in the sword-shaped pendant. This in itself was a miracle. A finger-sized sword-shaped pendant actually contained a world. This was even bigger than the space opened up by those ancient powerhouses. It was really amazing. A flower, a world. Everything had a spirit. Lin Xian's eyes became brighter and brighter. He seemed to have grasped the key. The vast starry sky was boundless, and the universe was even more boundless. However, it was very likely that it was just a leaf or a flower. It was even possible that the entire universe was contained in a pavilion. Lin Xian also had a magical world in his body. That world also had infinite space. Thinking of this, the corners of his mouth curled up into a confident smile. I am the universe, and the universe is me. This is both real and illusory. After saying that, Lin Xian took a step forward. This step seemed to transcend time and space, as if he had stepped through eternity. In the next moment, light appeared around Lin Xian. The scene was no longer a vast, starry sky, but an ordinary pavilion. We're out. Lin Xian was extremely excited. He looked up and found that it was a spacious hall that could accommodate all of them. Everyone else was in the center of the hall. Their bodies were like statues, and everyone had a confused look on their faces. Under their feet, there was a huge star pattern. These people had gone out but never stepped out of the star pattern. Is this a formation? Lin Xian looked in front of him and was extremely shocked, but very quickly he denied this thought, because it didn't look like an array. It looked more like a painting. No way. A painting can actually create such a terrifying scene. It's as if it's real. Everyone is lost in it. This method is too terrifying. Lin Xian felt his scalp go numb. What kind of terrifying powerhouse could have such a heaven-defying method? Once he got rid of the distracting thoughts in his mind, the most important thing now was to find the key to the astral chains. He looked around and found a stone platform in front of him. On the stone platform, there was a blue stone that looked like a real star fragment. Could this be the key to the astral chains? Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. He quickly came to the front of the stone platform and grabbed the blue stone in his hand. The stone didn't have any tough edges. It felt warm to the touch. Just as Lin Xian picked up the blue stone, the people in the hall behind him screamed. It's gone. The stars have disappeared. Oh my God, we're saved. Thank the heavens for giving me a chance to be reborn. The group of people was extremely excited. They felt as if they had just survived a disaster. Where's Lin Xian? Murong Qingqing frowned. She didn't find Lin Xian beside her. Chapter 12:18. Over there. Zhao Shui stretched out her hand and pointed forward. Then everyone looked forward and found that Lin Xian was indeed there. Could it be that Lin Xian was the first to come out? That means that Lin Xian saved us. Everyone was astonished and shocked in their hearts. This was too unbelievable. Even the elders and seniors did not come out, but Lin Xian walked out of the starry sky. How did he do it? Lin Xian only smiled at this question and pointed at the ground beneath their feet. This is a starry sky pattern, the Murong family elder exclaimed. Could this pattern be an array? Soon, a group of array masters studied it. However, they found that it was not an array that they knew of. Perhaps it was a higher level array. However, the Crimson Dragon shook his head frantically. There was even a hint of fear in his eyes. It's definitely not an array. It's just a picture. Damn it, who could have such a heaven-defying method? He was too shocked because he could not do such a thing. What? It's a picture. You're saying that we were in the picture? Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. After hearing this news, everyone was shocked beyond words. A painting, just a painting, had trapped all of them. If not for Lin Xian, they would have been trapped here for the rest of their lives. Who on earth is it? How could he have such terrifying means? The elders of the House of Kings were shocked. Even a king would not have such a method. The group was shocked beyond words. They felt that this place was filled with mystery and strangeness. Right? Did you get the key to the starry sky chain? Murong Qingqing looked at Lin Xian. I got it. Lin Xian opened his palm and revealed the blue stone. Hearing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, although they had encountered some dangerous situations, they had obtained the key to the starry sky chain. This way, they would have some confidence in facing the heavenly Netherbird. Since they had obtained the key, everyone left the Star Pavilion. The next thing they needed to do was to wait for the heavenly Netherbird. Lin Xian had succeeded, but the situation at Songsong Pavilion was not optimistic. Ever since the last time, those formation masters had been constantly researching and finally found a way, so they hurriedly took action. However, the defensive formation was even more powerful than they'd imagined. Thus, in the past few days, they'd only managed to break through a small part of it. If they wanted to completely break through it, it would likely take them 2 to 3 months. Half a month later, the heavenly Netherbird would break the Big Dipper 7-star formation and enter the Pine Palace. Therefore, it was impossible for them to complete it within half a month. For a moment, everyone's face was incomparably gloomy. This won't do. We don't have enough manpower. If this goes on, we won't be able to break the formation. Why don't we look for the Murong family and the people from Merry Woods? I think we can only break the formation quickly if we work together. Duan Tianxing frowned and said in a low voice, All right, let's discuss it with them. Very quickly, a few martial artists ran towards the Star Pavilion. This small team was led by an array grandmaster and 3 Seventh Heaven venerables. Their speed was very fast, and it didn't take long for them to arrive near the Star Pavilion. However, in the next moment, they were stunned. This was because they'd expected the other party to be the same as them, unable to break the formation. However, it seemed that the situation was a little off. This was because those people were sitting cross-legged on the ground, silently cultivating. However, they didn't have any anxious expressions on their faces. This surprised them greatly. One had to know that they were going crazy over there, but there was no movement from this side. It was really too strange. Who's sneaking around? Get out here. Just as the formation master from the palace of Ares was observing, the elder from the Morong family suddenly opened his eyes and snorted coldly, "Don't be agitated. It's us." The formation master from the palace of Ares walked out with 3 martial artists. He didn't want to be misunderstood and be attacked by those people. "It's you?" Many people present recognized the formation master. Among them, the elder from the Morong family frowned. "Weren't you guys trying to break the formation in the Pine Pavilion? Why are you here?" To be honest, that formation is too difficult to break. Our people are familiar with it, but they can't break it in a short period of time. So I think we should work together to break the formation. This way we can definitely break the formation before the Sky Netherbird comes. Otherwise, we'll all die here. I knew you couldn't break it, but what does that have to do with me? The formation master from the Morong family said coldly, "You guys were the ones who insisted on splitting up. Now you want to join up? Do you think the palace of Ares can control everyone? Not only the Morong family, but even the elder from the Merry Woods was unhappy. We're all from the House of Kings. Why should the palace of Ares decide whether to join up or split up? Why should we listen to you? I know you're unhappy, but now is not the time to be loyal. If we can't break the formation, none of us can escape. You think too much. We don't need you to care about our business." The elder from the Morong family coldly refused. The others also sneered, as if they didn't care about the threat that was about to come. "You guys are a bunch of idiots. Don't you know what kind of danger you're in?" Seeing that those people didn't move, the formation master from the palace of Ares was furious. "Heh, since you guys don't want to cooperate, then don't blame us. When we break the formation, don't come begging us." After saying that, he snorted and left with a gloomy face. Seeing the other party leave, the warriors from the Morong family and the Merry Woods sneered. They didn't care about the other party's threat. After all, they had already broken the formation and obtained the stellar key. When the time comes, it's not certain who will be begging who. However, the elders were worried. "Lin Gongzi, do we really not want to cooperate with them?" Hearing that, Lin Xian shook his head. "It's better if we don't open the Pine Pavilion. Otherwise, if we destroy the formation control room, we'll be in trouble. When the time comes, the heavenly Netherbird will come in early. In such a short time, we won't be able to control the stellar beast. Then we'll really have no way to survive." Hearing that, the other elders nodded. Indeed, the formation was very important. They couldn't destroy it. "If that's the case, then we won't go help. We'll stay here and watch. But I hope that the stellar key can really restrain the heavenly Netherbird. Don't worry, there's still some time. I'll try my best to control the stellar key," Lin Xian said. Chapter 12:19. Also, we won't fight the Heaven Serene Bird head-on. We just need to hold it back. After all, it won't be long before we're transported out. As long as we can hold on for a while, we can leave safely. The day they left was around the same time as the Heaven Serene Bird's arrival, which was 3 to 5 days later. As long as they could hold on for a few days, they would be transported out. On the other side, the array master from the Palace of Gods of War angrily returned to the Tsongsong Pavilion. He told them what had happened, which immediately caused those people to be dissatisfied. "What? You're saying that the Morong family didn't cooperate? Damn it, those idiots. They don't want to live anymore. Humph, we don't need them. We'll break it ourselves as long as we break the array. They'll definitely kneel down and beg us." The Palace of Gods of War's expression was ferocious. Then they gathered everyone to break the array. They all began to act. They didn't dare to hold back anymore. Time quickly passed. In the blink of an eye, the day of the Heaven Serene Bird's arrival arrived. The Sangsong Pavilion had been busy for half a month, but they still couldn't break the array. Now, they were like frosted eggplants. Each of them sat on the ground with a face of despair. The stellar pagoda. Lin Xian opened his eyes and adjusted himself to his peak state. He knew that they would soon have to face the heaven serene bird. This was a matter of life and death. If they could hold on, then they could leave safely. Otherwise, they would all die here. Fortunately, they weren't completely unprepared. At least he still had the stellar key in his hand, and after half a month of research, he was already able to control it. Not only that, he also had the Sangsong sword. This was something that the heaven serene bird was wary of. Thinking about it, these two together could restrain the heaven serene bird. If it really didn't work, he could still control the 10,000 beast sting. This was his biggest trump card. After all, the 10,000 beast sting was a complete Earth-class artifact. It also had a special suppressive effect on monsters. Although he couldn't display the full power of the 10,000 beast sting with his current strength, he could still use it to a certain extent. After all, Lin Xian's goal wasn't just to restrain the heavenly netherbird. He also wanted its essence blood and black flames. The sky was clear and cloudless. However, it suddenly became gloomy. Countless gusts of wind blew, emitting demonic sounds. Suddenly, everyone felt an oppressive aura. It was as if a peerless demon had come into being. That aura made them despair. Bang, bang, bang. After that, a deep voice rang out. Then, the entire Pine Palace shook violently as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting apart. Immediately after, a low voice sounded in everyone's ears. "Lowly worms, have you completed your mission?" Hearing this voice, many of the martial artists in Pine Pavilion began to tremble. This was because they had not completed their mission. On the Star Pavilion side, Lin Xian and the others held their breaths. They had obtained the star key, but it didn't mean that they would obediently hand it over to the heavenly netherbird. However, if they didn't hand it over to the heavenly netherbird, it would definitely be angered. Therefore, everyone was extremely nervous. Bang! The mountain in front of them crumbled, and the Big Dipper array finally dimmed. A huge crack had been torn open by the heavenly netherbird. Then, the heavenly netherbird's huge body crashed into the Big Dipper array and appeared in front of everyone. Roar! A terrifying roar echoed throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It was as if the entire secret territory was going to be turned upside down. Countless black flames were like black waves that slammed in all directions. Accompanying it was a terrifyingly hot aura. Just the aura from the heavenly netherbird was enough to make them unable to breathe. Someone actually obtained the star key. The heavenly netherbird revealed a surprised expression. "Ha ha, good, good, good. You didn't disappoint me." A loud and clear voice resounded throughout the entire Pine Palace. "What? They obtained the star key? How is that possible? Did they break the ancient array?" Hearing the heavenly netherbirds' words, the people from the Palace of Gods of War were stunned. Originally, they thought that the Murong family was the same as them and hadn't broken the array. That was why they had given up and refused to cooperate with them. But now, it seemed that they were completely wrong. The other party wasn't giving up. They were clearly confident. Because they had already broken the array, they didn't need to cooperate with them. They had already completed the task that the heavenly netherbird had given them. Now, they were the ones in danger. "No, we can't just sit here and wait. Let's go and meet up with those people." The group of people were terrified. They knew that the star key was their last hope. In the next moment, all the cultivators from the Sangsong Pavilion ran with all their might towards the Star Pavilion. The heavenly netherbird didn't care about these cultivators. He was staring at the people from the Star Pavilion, but he was actually staring at Lin Xian. This was because he could feel that the key to the star chain was in Lin Xian's hands. "So it's you. No wonder I didn't know in advance." You're a fish that slipped through the net." The heavenly netherbird was indeed surprised. This was because he had planted the black flame mark in everyone's body. As long as someone had the star key, he would be able to sense it. However, there were two exceptions. They were Lin Xian and Zhao Shui. They didn't have the black flame mark on them. So even if Lin Xian had the star key, the heavenly netherbird would know. "Kid, I have to say that you've surprised me. First, you were able to enter the Big Dipper array. Now, you've obtained the Star Chain's key. Your strength has exceeded my expectations. Now, give me the star key, and I can spare your life." The heavenly netherbird's loud voice rang out. However, Lin Xian shook his head. "You want the key? Sure, but you have to let them go first." Lin Xian pointed at the surrounding cultivators. Suddenly, the surrounding cultivators were shocked. They looked at Lin Xian with eyes full of gratitude. This was because they didn't expect that Lin Xian would let them go first. This was to protect them. "Humph, lowly worm, you have no right to negotiate with me." Hearing Lin Xian's words, the heavenly netherbird was displeased. Who was he? He was an ancient demon beast. Even a king couldn't do anything to him. But now, a lowly worm dared to negotiate with him. This was simply courting death. "Do you believe that if you provoke me, I can kill all of you with one palm?" The heavenly netherbird's voice was cold as he stared at Lin Xian. "I'll give you one last chance. Obediently give me the star key. Otherwise, all of you will die." Hearing the heavenly netherbird's words, the surrounding cultivators' hearts beat wildly. They were extremely nervous. Chapter 12:20. Lin Xian's expression turned serious when he heard about the heavenly netherbird's danger. However, at this moment, an angry shout came from behind. "Lin Xian, hurry up and give the stellar key to the heavenly netherbird." "That's right. What are you hesitating for? Do you want to get us killed? Damn brat, hurry up and hand over the stellar key. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite." The martial artists from the Palace of Aries and the Palace of Divine Birds all shouted. At this moment of life and death, they couldn't care less. Not to mention that Lin Xian was an 8th-level honored warrior. Even if Lin Xian was a king, they still had to make him hand over the stellar key. Otherwise, no one could resist the heavenly netherbird's anger. Hearing these words, the martial artists from the Morong family and the Merry Forest were all enraged. The people from the Palace of Aries were too despicable. They didn't even get the stellar key. What right did they have to scold Lin Xian? "Humph, you didn't get it. What right do you have to criticize us?" "That's right, Lin Xian. Let us to get the stellar key. What we do is up to Lin Xian. You have no right to question us." Lin Xian's face was also gloomy. He stared at the people from the Palace of Aries and sneered. "I wanted to let you go, but you're so despicable. You dare to threaten me at this moment. It seems that I was too soft before." Hearing Lin Xian's words, the people from the Palace of Aries felt their hearts beat wildly. They had a bad feeling in their hearts. What do you want to do?" "Brat, I'm warning you. Don't mess around. If you anger us, you won't have a good ending." "A bunch of idiots. You still dare to threaten me at this moment. It seems that you don't know how to write the word death." Lin Xian looked at them and smiled coldly. Hearing Lin Xian's words, the martial artists from the Palace of Aries felt their hair stand on end. They had a bad feeling as if something was about to happen. Sure enough, in the next moment, Lin Xian pointed at the Morong family again and said in a deep voice, "Let these people go, and I can consider giving you the stellar key. As for those people, you can do whatever you want with them." He glanced at the people from the Palace of Gods of War. Lin Xian's words caused the expressions of those from the Palace of Gods of War to change drastically. It was as if they had fallen into a bottomless abyss. If the sky serene bird really agreed to Lin Xian's request, then they would be in deep trouble. For a moment, everyone's faces were pale and filled with despair. However, they placed their hopes on the heavenly nether bird because in their eyes it was a peerless ancient beast. How could it compromise? Sure enough, the heavenly nether bird coldly snorted. Its eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Ignorant human, you dare to provoke me? I will let you know the consequences of provoking me. He swung his huge black claw at Lin Xian. Instantly, the entire space cracked. Just as the huge claw was about to hit Lin Xian still didn't dodge. He flipped his palm and took out a blue stone. Then, he struck a technique into it. Instantly, the blue stone shone brightly and formed a mystical energy. In the next moment, the stellar chains on the sky serene bird's body rattled as they quickly coiled around Yi Shiwen like dragons. The sound of metal colliding rang out continuously, followed by the sky serene bird's cry of surprise. Damn it, you can actually control the stellar key. How is this possible? The sky serene bird was extremely shocked. Its huge black claw stopped in midair and didn't strike down. It was simply too shocked. It didn't expect that a puny human who hadn't even reached the king realm could control the stellar key. This was simply too inconceivable. Lin Xian didn't reply. He held the stellar key and said again, "Now, I have the right to negotiate with you." The sky serene bird remained silent, as if it was deep in thought. However, the atmosphere in the entire space was becoming more and more tense. Murong Qingcheng and the others were extremely nervous. The scene from before had almost scared them to death. It was simply too dangerous. If Lin Xian hadn't controlled the sky serene bird, then it would have been impossible for him to survive that attack. Fortunately, he had made the right bet. However, he didn't know if the sky serene bird would agree to his conditions. Time seemed to have stopped. Although it was very short, everyone felt as if thousands of years had passed. Finally, the sky serene bird moved. It said in a deep voice, "All right, I agree to your conditions. You can all leave now." These words caused the cultivators from the Murong family and the Merry Forest to heave a sigh of relief. It was too exciting. They had truly walked through the gates of hell. Fortunately, they were saved in the end. "Lin Xian, what about you?" Murong Qingcheng was extremely worried. After all, Lin Xian couldn't leave at all. However, if he faced the sky serene bird alone, the consequences would be unimaginable. "Qingcheng, trust me, I can handle it." Lin Xian smiled at Murong Qingcheng. Then he turned to Zhao Shui and said, "You should also leave with them." "No, I want to stay and help you." Zhao Shui shook her head. "No, you have to leave. There's no use for you to stay here. The sky's serene bird isn't something that we can fight against." Zhao Shui wanted to say something, but she was interrupted by Lin Xian. "Don't worry, I'm confident." "All right, then you have to come back alive." Zhao Shui nodded. "Lin Xian, you have to be careful." Murong Qingcheng was also reluctant to leave. However, she knew that this was a serious matter. Therefore, she didn't hesitate. Then, she led everyone and quickly left the Pine Palace. On the other side, the people from the Palace of Aries were shocked when they saw Murong Qingcheng and the others leave. They didn't expect the sky serene bird to actually compromise. In the next moment, the hope of escaping surged in their hearts. They also wanted to leave this place. However, a shocking sword qi, like a long river, forcibly stopped them. "Damn it, it's Lin Xian's brat. How dare he block our path? He must be tired of living." The group of people roared in anger. This was the best time to leave. If they didn't leave now, they wouldn't be able to. At that time, they wouldn't be able to fight against the sky serene bird. There would only be one outcome waiting for them. Therefore, how could they not be angry? Did I say you could leave? Lin Xian looked at them and sneered. Brat, you're courting death. Duan Tianqing was furious. His expression was ferocious. If we don't leave, even if you manage to escape, do you think the palace of Ares will let you go? Let me go. Lin Xian snorted. Do you think you'll let me go if you leave? I won't let you go for nothing. What do you want? Duan Tianqing asked anxiously. They didn't have much time left. It's simple. Pay for your life. Hand over everything you obtained in the Pine Palace, and I'll let you leave. Otherwise, you can stay here and face it with me. Chapter 12:21. What? You can have them all. Brat, you've gone too far. Whether we leave or not is up to the heavenly Netherbird to decide. It has nothing to do with you. Don't even think about getting any benefits from us. Duan Tianqing's voice was ferocious. If the heavenly Netherbird wasn't here, he would have led his men to fight Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian shook his head. He looked at the heavenly Netherbird and asked, I can decide whether these people stay or leave, right? You can. The heavenly Netherbird's voice was cold. To it, these humans were no different from insects. Therefore, it didn't care whether they lived or died. The only thing it cared about was the stellar key. The heavenly Netherbird's words made Duan Tianqing and the others' faces turn ugly. Their eyes were filled with despair. This was because they knew that these words were equivalent to a death sentence. If they couldn't satisfy Lin Xian, they would have to stay here forever. I'll give you 3 breaths of time to consider. You can choose whether you want the stellar key or the treasures. Duan Tianqing and the others' faces were ashen. They didn't dare to stay here because the heavenly Netherbird was too terrifying. They couldn't fight against it. However, asking them to hand over all their treasures was worse than killing them. One had to know that those treasures were true treasures. They had spent a lot of effort to collect them. Now they had to hand it all over to someone else. This made them unwilling. Elder Duan, do you want us to kill this brat together? Yan Feng gritted his teeth. He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. However, Duan Tianqing shook his head. Give it to him. He didn't dare to make a move in front of the heavenly Netherbird. If he angered it, it could kill them all with one slap. Elder Duan, countless people roared when they heard Duan Tianqing's words. Living is more important than anything else. Once we die, we'll have nothing left. Everyone trembled as fear filled their eyes. Yes, they were all members of the royal family. They were all geniuses. They still had a lot of time to enjoy. They didn't want to die. In the end, these people gritted their teeth and threw all their storage rings to Lin Xian. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian collected all the storage rings and put them into the white bone ring. Afterward, he extended his soul power and quickly scanned everyone. He was very satisfied with the result. No one dared to hide anything in front of him. Very well, you can scram now. Lin Xian withdrew his soul power and waved his hand impatiently. Brat, you will pay for what you did today. Duan Tianqing gnashed his teeth as he left, because this time it could be said that they had suffered great losses. They had lost all the treasures they had collected. However, Lin Xian merely shrugged and didn't care at all. These people were simply no match for him, so he didn't care whether they lived or died. Moreover, she had obtained countless treasures in exchange for his life. This was undoubtedly a huge gain for her. This was because these heavenly treasures could increase his cultivation and strength once again. Moreover, he could also use them to increase the cultivation of his friends. It could be said that this deal was a win-win situation. After Duan Tianqing and the others left, only the heavenly Netherbird and Lin Xian were left. Lin Xian didn't rush to speak. Instead, he thought to himself, when he estimated that Murong Qingcheng and the others had almost completely left, he looked at the heavenly Netherbird. "All right, Brat, I've already fulfilled your conditions. Hurry up and give me the stellar key." The heavenly Netherbird said coldly. It had already decided that once Lin Xian handed over the key, it would kill him with one palm, because no one had ever been able to negotiate with it. However, Lin Xian's lips curled up slightly. "No rush. You've agreed to the first condition, but we'll talk about the second and third conditions." "What? You dare to tease me?" Hearing this, the heavenly Netherbird was stunned. Then it became abnormally angry. This damned human worm dared to tease it. He really didn't know his limits. "Damned worm, my patience is limited. I'll give you one last chance. Hand it over, or I'll make sure you die without a burial place." As it spoke, black flames filled the sky and dyed the entire void black. It was obvious that the heavenly Netherbird was really angry. If Lin Xian's performance didn't satisfy it, it would probably become even angrier. However, Lin Xian was unmoved. He slowly said, "I have two conditions. First, give me a drop of your essence blood. Second, I want a portion of your origin flame." Lin Xian stated his conditions. However, the heavenly Netherbird was enraged. "Brat, you're courting death." It finally couldn't take it anymore. A puny human dared to raise conditions with it time and time again. He even dared to ask for its essence blood and origin flame. He was simply courting death. In the next moment, the heavenly Netherbird waved its giant claw and viciously slammed it towards Lin Xian. The giant black claw tore through the void and expanded infinitely. It was like an ancient demonic mountain that pressed downwards. Below him, Lin Xian turned his body and quickly executed his movement skill. His speed reached the limit, and he was like a shocking rainbow as he retreated rapidly. Boom! The heavenly Netherbird's giant claw viciously slammed into the ground, causing the entire Pine Palace to shake violently. A terrifying crater was formed in an instant. This was too terrifying. One had to know that Lin Xian's previous battle couldn't even damage the structure of the Pine Palace. However, the heavenly Netherbird's casual attack had caused the entire ground to collapse. One could only imagine how terrifying its strength was. However, it was fortunate that Lin Xian had an Earth-class movement technique and a pair of storm wings that helped him increase his speed. Therefore, the attack just now didn't hurt him at all. I don't think you need to be so agitated. The two things I want can't hurt you at all. As long as you give them to me, I'll give you the stellar key. Otherwise, those stellar chains will accompany you forever. Despicable human, die. The heavenly Netherbird was furious. It would never agree to Lin Xian's conditions. In the next moment, it roared and the black flames on its body shot up into the sky. Endless black flames rushed towards Lin Xian. The black flames churned, and huge black palms appeared one after another, grabbing forward. In an instant, the entire space was torn apart. Lin Xian didn't dare to take it head-on. He quickly used the Red Lotus armor to form the strongest defense. At the same time, he used the illusory demon steps to increase his speed to the extreme. Since Mingwan isn't working, then don't blame me. Lin Xian snorted, and then activated the stellar key in his hand. Suddenly, the stellar chains on the heavenly Netherbird's body clattered and tightened again. It was as if they were going to sink into the heavenly Netherbird's body. "Ah, damned human, how dare you hurt me?" The heavenly Netherbird was furious. It didn't think that a puny human would dare to attack it. It couldn't tolerate it. With a roar, the terrifying sound wave was like a demonic sound that caused the entire space to explode. The terrifying wave hit Lin Xian and sent him flying. Chapter 12:22. Rosalong Lin Xian let out a furious roar before he came to a stop with much difficulty. "Don't worry, it's all set up." The Crimson Dragon's voice rang out as it waved its claws. Immediately, a huge array appeared before the heavenly Netherbird and enveloped him. "Humph! You want to stop me with just a broken array? How ignorant! I'll let you know the consequences of angering me." The heavenly Netherbird's voice was cold as it carried a domineering aura. Then he crashed into the ground in front of him. Suddenly, the light screen formed by the array shattered like glass. "Humph, I've said it before. Your methods are nothing in front of me. Since you dare to provoke me, I'll make you wish you were dead." The heavenly Netherbird looked at Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon with a cruel smile. But in the next moment, his smile disappeared, because the broken array had reformed and formed a new light screen that enveloped him. "Humph, stupid bird, it's not that easy to break through Ben Huang's array," the Crimson Dragon snorted. "If Ben Huang's dragon essence had not disappeared, you wouldn't be so arrogant." He was too depressed. Originally, he was not weaker than the heavenly Netherbird, but now that he had lost his dragon essence, he could not use much of his strength. He could only rely on the array to delay his opponent's attack. "Brat, it's up to you." Seeing that the array had stopped the heavenly Netherbird, Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly. In the next moment, he was like a sword god, as a huge sword aura surged from his body. Gale lightning sword, fourth sword, heaven and earth collapse. Lin Xian used his strongest attack as soon as he attacked. 4 giant swords formed in the sky. Each of them was extremely terrifying and exuded an aura that could destroy the heavens and earth. Then, under Lin Xian's control, the 4 giant swords fell and slashed at the heavenly Netherbird. Boom, boom. Thunder rumbled, as if the heavens and earth were falling apart. The entire void was collapsing rapidly. The power of these 4 swords was simply too terrifying. Even an 8th level Venerate would probably be sliced in half in an instant. "Damn worm, you've really angered me." However, in the next moment, the heavenly Netherbird's angry voice was heard. Then, a pitch-black figure with flames rose from the ground. In the next moment, the array's light screen shattered, and the 4 giant swords were sent flying. The heavenly Netherbird was furious. Its body was covered in black flames. The terrifying attack just now did not break through its defense at all. However, Lin Xian's actions had enraged it. "Brat, go to hell." The heavenly Netherbird raised its claw, and countless black flames gathered to form a huge black fireball the size of a small mountain. Whoosh! In the next moment, the giant heavenly Netherbird. This attack was too terrifying, and even Exalt Realm experts would probably be unable to resist it at all. Bloodthirsty tide, he, est, s's, he to tt he, s, he, up, was he, lin to increase to, s to tess was to, at the same time, he used the tempest wings and illusory demon steps. His speed reached its limit as he quickly moved out. Lin Xian used his extreme movement technique and finally moved out at the last moment. However, although he managed to dodge the heavenly Netherbird, he didn't manage to dodge the energy's aftermath. The giant heavenly Netherbird smashed into the ground, creating a bottomless pit. Then countless waves of flames spread out. The impact was very wide. More than half of the Pine region was affected. Therefore, no matter how fast Lin Xian was, he couldn't dodge it. He was swept by the wave-like black flames and felt as if he was struck by lightning. He was sent flying. The blood in his body churned, and many of his bones were broken. It was too terrifying. That was only the aftermath of the energy. Lin Xian was wearing the Red Lotus armor, but he was still severely injured. The heavenly Netherbird was indeed an ancient demonic beast. Even a martial honorable realm cultivator wouldn't be able to withstand such an attack. Lin Xian controlled the injuries in his body and quickly retreated to avoid being affected again. Moreover, his bones, blood were recovering quickly. From this, one could see the difference between Lin Xian and other martial honorables. One had to know that Lin Xian usually consumed a lot of heaven and earth treasures. The medicinal effects were left in his body and hadn't been refined. Now that he was injured, the remaining medicinal effects were quickly breaking down and repairing his body. If it were anyone else, they probably wouldn't be able to move after this attack. The medicinal effects left in his body, coupled with the art of longevity's amazing recovery ability. Therefore, in the next moment, Lin Xian had recovered 70 to 80%. Seeing that Lin Xian was fine, the heavenly Netherbird was surprised. It knew that even a martial honorable realm cultivator wouldn't be able to withstand the energy of the heavenly Netherbird. However, Lin Xian was still alive. What a strange kid. The heavenly Netherbird's face darkened as it waved its claws. Suddenly, the remaining black flames in the sky turned into countless black fire dragons and rushed toward Lin Xian. His surroundings were sealed once again. This time, Lin Xian would not be able to escape this calamity. The Crimson Dragon was also anxious. It waved its claws and created a few formations to block some of the fire dragons. However, its strength was limited, and it couldn't trap all of the fire dragons. Therefore, although it was relieved, Lin Xian was still in danger. "Humph, kid, let's see how you escape this time." The heavenly Netherbird revealed a cruel smile. Even if he wasn't hit by the fire dragons, as long as he was hit by the energy waves, he wouldn't be able to survive. Unless he was a martial king. However, Lin Xian clearly wasn't a martial king. Therefore, the heavenly Netherbird thought that he was dead for sure this time. Looking at the black fire dragons rushing toward him from all directions, Lin Xian's face turned ugly. He didn't expect the heavenly Netherbird to be so powerful. He was heavily injured as soon as they started fighting. It seemed that he could only use his trump card now. With a flip of his hand, the 10,000 beast ding appeared in his hand. Then he held the 10,000 beast ding and blasted it forward. The 10,000 beast ding had absorbed a lot of terrifying flames in the cave. Now, under Lin Xian's control, the flames surged out to resist the black fire dragons. The flames burned the sky and covered the entire sky in a sea of fire. The terrifying temperature caused the entire void to crackle and crumble. In the sky, the boundless sea of refined swords collided with the black flaming dragon, causing crackling sounds to resound. Every single explosion was capable of annihilating an Exalt Realm cultivator. Seeing a small human reptile resist the black fire dragons, the heavenly Netherbird was surprised. Then it looked at the sky and revealed a surprised expression. The aura of these flames, could it be? It seemed to have thought of something as its gaze became uncertain. After seeing the black fire dragons disappear, the heavenly Netherbird confirmed that the flames were as it had guessed. "Kid, you've entered old Devil Song's weapon refining cave." The heavenly Netherbbird's voice contained a trace of savagery. Chapter 12:23. The Sea of Flames was extremely terrifying. Even the heavenly Netherbird's black fire dragon was burned. One could only imagine how terrifying it was. This scene caused the heavenly Netherbird's expression to change. It asked in a deep voice, "Brat, did you enter the weapon refining cave before?" To be honest, the heavenly Netherbird wasn't too afraid of these flames. After all, it had its ways to deal with them. However, what made it afraid was that the other party was able to subdue these flames. A human brat with only the cultivation of the 7th heavenly layer was able to subdue such terrifying flames. It couldn't help but be shocked. One had to know that the weapon refining cave had a peerless divine weapon that even it was afraid of. If the other party obtained that peerless divine weapon, then the threat to it would increase greatly. However, Lin Xian sneered, "I know what you're afraid of. No need to guess. That sword is in my hands. So, as long as you obediently hand over the essence blood and the black flame, I can let you go." From the current situation, Lin Xian was certain that the heavenly Netherbird was afraid of the divine sword in his hands. "Brat, you're too ignorant." The heavenly Netherbird sneered. "If it was old Devil Song Song, who had that divine sword back then I might be very afraid. But now, with your cultivation, you can't pose any threat to me. Moreover, that divine sword is already broken. I'm very sure of this. So now, that broken sword is of no threat to me." Although the heavenly Netherbird's words were filled with disdain, its movements were not slow. It once again launched a fierce attack at Lin Xian. This time, Lin Xian did not use his own strength to resist because the gap between them was too great. The heavenly Netherbird was a monster that even kings had to retreat from. He could not fight against it at all. Therefore, he used the Sea of Flames to resist the heavenly Netherbird. Although he was at a disadvantage, his life was not in danger for the time being. "Haha, you're afraid. Although you say you don't care, you care a lot in your heart. Otherwise, you wouldn't have launched such an attack." Lin Xian sneered. He now understood that the divine sword in his hands was absolutely terrifying. Even if it was broken, it was still able to make the heavenly Netherbird wary. In the distant past, the heavenly Netherbird must have suffered at the hands of this peerless divine sword. After understanding this, Lin Xian no longer hesitated. He lightly tapped the 10,000 beast ding with his palm, which immediately produced a crisp sound. Clang! The 10,000 beast ding trembled. Then, a green long sword appeared from the cauldron. Ashen Pine Sword. The heavenly Netherbird's pupils shrank when she saw the jade sword. Lin Xian's guess was correct. He had indeed suffered a loss at the hands of this peerless divine sword, and it was a great loss. Back then, he had fought old Taoist Song Song to a standstill. Originally, with old Taoist Song Song's strength, they could only fight to a draw. However, it was precisely because he possessed the Ashen Pine Sword that Tianyu was defeated. It could be said that the bird hated and feared the Song Pine Sword at the same time. Now that he saw the sword again, he was naturally shocked. However, when he saw the sword clearly, he started laughing wildly. "Ha ha ha, I told you. The Song Pine Sword is already broken. It can't unleash the power of the past." Indeed, half of the Song Pine Sword was broken. The remaining half of the sword was covered in cracks, as if it would shatter at any moment. More importantly, old Taoist Song Song was no longer here. There was only a broken sword and a seventh sky supremacy brat. They could not unleash the power of this peerless divine weapon. Therefore, the heavenly Netherbird was not worried at all. "Brat, no wonder you were so arrogant before. You even dared to talk about conditions with me. I guess this Song Pine Sword is your greatest trump card. Unfortunately, your trump card is useless against me. Now, I'm going to send you on your way. Don't worry, I won't kill you immediately. I'll torture you slowly so that you'll beg for death. This is what you get for messing with me." The heavenly Netherbird let out a sinister laugh. As an ancient demonic beast, he revealed his cruel nature. With that, he stretched out a finger and viciously pressed it down. From the looks of it, he wanted to crush Lin Xian like an ant. Lin Xian took a deep breath. His expression was extremely serious. In the next moment, he crazily activated the great dragon sword soul in his body. Suddenly, countless rays of sword chi rushed out like giant dragons and wrapped around his arm. Lin Xian stretched out his hand and grasped the Tsang Pine sword. Buzz! The broken Tsang Pine sword seemed to come alive. It released a dazzling light that dyed the entire space green. A terrifying sword aura erupted from the Tsang Pine sword and swept through the world. At this moment, the Tsang Pine sword came alive. What? This is impossible. The smile on the heavenly Netherbird's face disappeared. His outstretched finger also stopped in midair. Shocking, it was too shocking. He did not expect the Tsang Pine sword to be able to fully recover. This was completely out of his expectations. One had to know that the Tsang Pine sword was an Earth-ranked treasure. This treasure was very powerful, but it also required a lot of energy. From what he knew, only kings and above could use Earth-ranked treasures. Therefore, he was not worried at all. Lin Xian was only a 7th rank supremacy and could not use the Tsang Pine sword. But now he had done it. Not only did he do it, but he also completely recovered the Tsang Pine sword. Damn it. How is this possible? What method did he use? A trace of panic appeared in the heavenly Netherbird's eyes. After all, the Tsang Pine sword had traumatized him too much. Humph! It's a bluff. It must be a bluff. How can a puny 7th rank supremacy completely recover the Tsang Pine sword? He must have used an illusion. Go to hell, brat! The heavenly Netherbird roared. Its huge claws were covered in endless black flames. Then it fiercely slammed down. A monster's physique was already strong. In addition, the heavenly Netherbird had terrifying black flames. Therefore, he did not need to use any spells. He only needed to use his own strength to cause endless destruction. Looking at the huge black claw descending from the sky, Lin Xian roared. Then he waved his arm and quickly slashed out with the Tsang Pine sword in his hand. In the next moment, a green sword aura flashed. The entire sky seemed to be dyed green. A green sword light was extremely sharp and quickly slashed forward. This sword chi was too terrifying. Even Lin Xian's heart palpitated in fear. This was because he had never seen such a sharp sword aura. He was afraid that only a king could use such an attack. The green sword aura fiercely slashed at the huge black claw. Then the heavenly Netherbird let out a miserable cry. The endless black flames were cut open by the green sword aura. Even the huge black claw had a huge wound. One could even faintly see the white bones. Chapter 12:24. An endless amount of blood spurted out, each drop capable of piercing through space. The heavenly Netherbird was indeed an ancient demon beast. The blood in its body was simply too powerful. The space could not withstand it at all. Seeing this scene, the dark red divine dragon was overjoyed. He quickly cast a formation and collected all the blood that dripped down. This blood was not the heavenly Netherbird's essence blood. It was just ordinary blood. However, it contained a shocking amount of energy. If he could collect enough blood, the Crimson Dragon could refine it into essence blood. Therefore, he did not waste any of the blood. Instead, he collected as much as he could. Damned reptile, you think you can get my blood? Seeing this, the heavenly Netherbird was enraged. He did not think that a snake would dare to covet his blood. He was courting death. In the next moment, black flames appeared on his palm and quickly stopped the bleeding. Then he looked at an Hong Dragon god and snorted. Despicable worm, die! An endless amount of Demon King aura surged towards the Crimson Dragon. In the heavenly Netherbird's eyes, the other party was just a small snake that could not withstand his aura. In the next moment, the other party would be turned into a bloody mist by the invisible aura. But soon he was stunned, because the Crimson Dragon was completely fine. His aura was like a stone sinking into the sea. What? How is this possible? The heavenly Netherbird was shocked. He realized that the two people in front of him were too strange. First, it was a mysterious brat who could control the Tsang Song sword. Now, it was a snake that was not afraid of his aura. Impossible. How is this possible? Demon beasts have a strict hierarchy. With my strength, just my aura alone is enough to crush him. But why is he fine? Could it be that I've been asleep for too long, and the world has changed? The heavenly Netherbird was extremely angry. As a demon beast on the ancient heaven ranking, he was infamous in the ancient times. Even a king would have to lower his head in front of him. But now he had just broken out of his seal and was already at a disadvantage at the hands of two insects. He could not accept this. The Crimson Dragon sneered. "Stupid bird, you want to use your aura on Ben Huang? You're too inexperienced." Then he raised his head and roared at the heavenly Netherbird. Immediately, a low growl of a dragon arose, carrying with it an endless amount of dragon energy. It swept across all 9 levels of heaven and all 10 levels of hell. In the next moment, the heavenly Netherbird's body began to tremble. Impossible. How is this possible? The heavenly Netherbird was shocked. He didn't think that a snake could make him tremble. This was not a suppression of strength, but a suppression that came from the depths of his bloodline. This kind of suppression almost drove the heavenly Netherbird crazy. Dragon Clan. This is the pressure of the Dragon Clan. The heavenly Netherbird was shocked as it stared at the Crimson Dragon. "You're not a snake. You're a dragon." He was too shocked. Who would have thought that the thing he had always thought of as a snake was actually a dragon? Furthermore, judging from the other party's bloodline power, it seemed to be extremely pure. But soon he began to laugh wildly. "Ha ha ha, the heavens are really helping me. I was trapped for thousands of years, and my strength was greatly reduced. I was just thinking about how to recover my strength. Who would have thought that I would encounter the dragon race right after I came out? And a weak one at that. Little thing, wait until I eat you. Not only will I recover my strength, but my bloodline will also become more refined. When that time comes, I might even become another great Xia Dragonfinch." The heavenly Netherbird was too excited. He was the descendant of the great Xia Dragonfinch, but the bloodline in his body was very thin. If he could obtain the bloodline of the Dragon Clan, he might be able to become the great Xia Dragonfinch again and reach the ancestral realm. Once he became the great Xia Dragonfinch, he would be the true overlord of the world. No one would be able to stop him. Thinking of this, his eyes shone brightly. His terrifying claws clawed downwards, determined to catch the Crimson Dragon. The Crimson Dragon was as agile as lightning, quickly dodging. "Big stupid bird. Although Buwang's strength is not as great as before, he's still not someone you can catch." The Crimson Dragon snorted. Although his strength was greatly reduced, he still had countless secret techniques that allowed him to escape successfully. On the other side, Lin Xian slowly waved the ashen pine sword, preparing to attack again. This was because he realized that as long as he injured the heavenly Netherbird and allowed the Crimson Dragon to collect enough blood, it would be able to condense essence blood. That way, he would have accomplished half of his goal. Moreover, the Crimson Dragon's actions had given him inspiration. Since blood could condense essence blood, then the countless black flames could naturally condense into true origin flames. Therefore, Lin Xian held the ashen pine sword while controlling the 10,000 beast ding to absorb the black flames on the heavenly Netherbbird's body. "You're courting death." The heavenly Netherbird was enraged. He didn't think that not only did he fail to catch the Crimson Dragon, but that Brat also dared to have designs on his flames. This made him extremely furious. Therefore, he gave up on catching the Crimson Dragon and decided to kill Lin Xian first. After all, the ashen pine sword in his opponent's hand was still a great threat to him. Seeing the heavenly Netherbird's gaze shift again, Lin Xian didn't hesitate and quickly slashed with the ashen pine sword. Compared to the previous slash, he only used the power of the great dragon sword spirit and the sharpness of the ashen pine sword. He didn't use the energy within the ashen pine sword. This was because he knew that the energy within the ashen pine sword could only be used 3 times, and he had to use it at the most critical moment. Now was not the time. Although he couldn't use the energy within the ashen pine sword, the power of the great dragon sword spirit combined with the sharpness of an earth-tier treasure was beyond imagination. Sword chi swept across the sky and covered the earth as the terrifying sword light slashed towards the heavenly Netherbird. The heavenly Netherbird roared again and again as a surge of energy surged into the sky. In an instant, it shattered the thousands of sword lights and quickly bombarded Lin Xian. The battle between the two was extremely intense. The entire sky was annihilated by the energy. However, this time, the heavenly Netherbird was prepared, so it was difficult for Lin Xian to succeed. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and decided to use the ashen pine sword's energy. His opponent's aura was growing stronger and stronger. In the next moment, the ashen pine sword in his hand emitted a blinding light. The sword light was like a green flame that lit up the entire sky. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and quickly slashed with his sword. A huge beam of sword chi slashed forward, and wherever it passed, the sword chi would be destroyed. Wherever it passed, dozens of palaces were turned into ashes. These palaces were the buildings of the Ashen Pine Palace. They were extremely sturdy and couldn't be damaged by anyone below the king level. But now, under the aftermath of the sword chi, countless palaces were shattered. This slash was too terrifying. It contained the power of the great dragon sword spirit and the ashen pine sword. Everything in its path was turned into nothingness. As if feeling the terror of this energy, the heavenly Netherbird's expression changed. He didn't expect the opponent to be able to use this kind of sword chi. This power still exceeded that of a venerable one and could threaten him. Chapter 12:25. No, this is definitely not that brat's energy. The heavenly Netherbird's expression changed drastically. Although the sword chi from before was spiritual energy, it could feel that it was the power of an honorable. But now, the sword chi was so sharp that it made it tremble in fear. Moreover, there was a power that surpassed the honorable realm. Damn it, he used the power of the Tsang Song sword. The heavenly Netherbird was shocked. It was too familiar with this power. Back then, Tsang Song had used this power to seal it. It did not expect to see this power again after a few thousand years. Sensing the threat, the heavenly Netherbird roared. The flames on its body spread out like the flames of hell, burning everything. The entire void collapsed under the flames. So what if it's the power of the Tsang Song sword? I didn't waste my thousands of years underground. Today, I'll let you see the sword technique I created. 9 underworld demonic sword, come out. The heavenly Netherbird roared. Suddenly, the black feathers on its body burned fiercely. Then it rose into the air and quickly formed a huge black sword in the air. The black sword was huge. It was dozens of feet long and was formed by the heavenly Netherbird's black feathers. Its surface was covered with black flames that burned fiercely, emitting a terrifying and violent power. The black flames were like the flames of hell. The black sword was like a demonic sword from hell. It carried with it endless killing intent, as if it wanted to destroy everything. The heavenly Netherbird stretched out its huge beast claws and grabbed the 9 underworld demonic sword. Then it swept it out Monstrous flames surged out, and boundless killing intent surged. The sword directly cut the void open. Clang! In the next moment, the Song Song sword and the 9 underworld demonic sword collided, creating an earth-shattering sound. The entire ground crumbled, and terrifying cracks appeared one after another. Lava spewed out from the cracks, reaching hundreds of feet high. Lin Xian, on the other hand, was also struck by the shockwave and was sent flying. Huge cracks appeared on the red lotus armor on his body. It wasn't that the armor wasn't strong enough, but that the sword chi was too terrifying. Even with Lin Xian's red lotus armor, which was condensed using his spiritual energy, it couldn't withstand it at all. Unless it was the true red lotus armor, it might be able to block the sword chi. Wounds appeared on Lin Xian's body, so deep that his bones could be seen. Other than these sword marks, there were many places on his body that had been burned by the black flames. There was nothing he could do about it. The 9 underworld demonic sword was too terrifying. Moreover, it was slashed out by the heavenly netherbird, so its power was unimaginable. Fortunately, Lin Xian had used the power of the azure pine sword to block most of the sword chi. Otherwise, that sword strike from before would have been enough to take his life. Even so, he was still in a very dangerous situation. This was because he could only use the ashen pine sword's power 2 more times. After that, the ashen pine sword would shatter. On the other hand, the heavenly netherbird was different. It was a peerless, vicious beast, and it had a demonic weapon like the 9 hell demon sword. Its power could be used without limit. This was undoubtedly a huge threat to him. Therefore, Lin Xian would not waste the next 2 bursts of energy. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian used the longevity secret art to quickly heal the injuries in his body. Then he soared into the sky, and the azure pine sword in his hand quickly drew a mysterious trajectory in the air. Gale lightning sword, 5-sword demonic annihilation. At the crucial moment, Lin Xian used the Gale Lightning Sword, and it was the final 5th sword. Originally, the 5th sword required the power of a king to use, but now that he had the Azure Pine sword, he could use it earlier. Even so, Lin Xian's body had reached its limit. It was as if it would collapse at any moment. However, Lin Xian was fearless. He gritted his teeth and waved his arms with all his might, unleashing a terrifying martial path sword chi. 5 giant swords rapidly appeared in the sky, as if they had been unleashed by a god. It was terrifying to the extreme. Not only that, but a desolate aura was emitted from those sword shadows. The 5 sword shadows were like heavenly swords that surrounded Lin Xian, temporarily isolating the aura of the underworld demonic realm. Looking at the 5 sword shadows, the sky netherbird narrowed its eyes. To be honest, this human brat had exceeded its expectations. His opponent was clearly only a 7th sky venerable, but the battle strength he displayed was not weaker than a king. This greatly shocked the sky netherbird. In addition to the power of the azure pine sword, his opponent's sword chi also had an unusually sharp offensive aura. That aura made the sky netherbird feel uneasy in the depths of its heart. It had only felt this kind of uneasiness in the past when it fought Taoist Song Song. Moreover, it had lost that battle, and it had been thoroughly defeated. Therefore, when it felt this uneasiness again, killing intent surged in the sky netherbirds' heart. Therefore, it would not let Lin Xian go. Brat, it's useless. Although your strength has exceeded my expectations, it's not your strength. Therefore, you can't defeat me. Moreover, once the underworld demonic sword is unleashed, even if you have the azure pine sword, you have no chance. However, Lin Xian ignored it. Even now, he had no reason to give up. In the next moment, he took a deep breath and slashed down with the azure pine sword. Immediately, the 5 sword shadows in the sky slashed down together with his movement. The 5 sword shadows were like the swords of the heavens, containing an invincible aura. It was as if nothing could stop it. Even if it was a god or a demon, it would still be killed. The sky netherbird roared as it held the underworld demonic sword. Its body emitted monstrous demonic chi, making it look like a peerless demon. It opened and closed, slashing out several sword chi. The terrifying underworld demonic sword, chi, soared into the sky and clashed with the giant sword. When the two energies collided, an apocalyptic energy exploded out. Then the entire space was affected. The Azure Pine Palace shook incessantly, and countless buildings were turned to ashes by the energy. Lin Xian was also sent flying by the energy. The heavenly nether bird's gigantic body was constantly retreating like a mountain. Every step it took caused the entire world to tremble. Not only that, but the sky was also filled with blood. Some of it was Lin Xian's, and some of it was the sky netherbird's. The crimson dragon was like a red bolt of lightning. It shuttled through the endless torrent and accurately captured the sky netherbird's blood. However, this energy was too violent. He was sent flying dozens of times, but every time he would fly back again without any regard for his life. In the end, the heavenly serene bird's blood was completely absorbed by him, and the violent energy gradually weakened until it finally disappeared. More than half of the buildings in the Azure Pine Palace were destroyed. The ground was pierced through, and there were countless black cracks in the sky that had yet to heal. This attack was too terrifying. Chapter 12:26. Brat, how are you? The crimson dragon quickly ran to Lin Xian's side. Cough, cough. Lin Xian kept coughing, and every time he coughed, he spat out a large mouthful of blood. This time, his injuries were even worse. All the bones in his body were broken, and his internal organs were severely injured. Fortunately, he had the art of longevity, and his body was very strong, so he did not die immediately. I have dragon blood here. Drink it quickly. The crimson dragon stretched out its claws. This was a critical moment, and it had to let Lin Xian recover quickly. Otherwise, they would be in danger. No need. Lin Xian shook his head and said with difficulty, I took all the storage rings of the people from the Palace of Gods of War. Duan Tianxing's storage ring had an immortal golden pill. With that pill, no matter how serious your injuries are, you can recover instantly. So don't worry, you won't die. That shocking attack had affected both Lin Xian and the heavenly netherbird. The heavenly netherbird's huge body kept retreating, and it only stopped after retreating a few hundred feet. Deep craters were formed on the ground one after another. Not only that, but the heavenly netherbird was also injured. There was a terrifying sword wound on its body that was dozens of feet long. At this moment, endless blood flowed out of the wound and seeped into the ground. However, the blood was quickly transferred to another place because the crimson dragon had set up a formation to collect the heavenly netherbird's blood. Brat, you dare to hurt me? The heavenly netherbird's voice was ferocious. It did not expect a human brat to be able to injure it. This was beyond its expectations. Of course, it knew that the culprit was the ashen pine sword. I want to see how many times you can use that broken sword. It found that the ashen pine sword was severely damaged, and it could only use it a few times. Therefore, as long as the ashen pine sword was broken, it had 100 ways to make Lin Xian suffer. However, in the next moment, its face turned ugly again. This was because he discovered that Lin Xian, who was facing him, had suffered extremely heavy injuries but had recovered in an instant. Even the spiritual energy he had consumed had been completely replenished. Damn it, this guy really has a lot of things in his hands. The heavenly serene bird's expression was ferocious. In the next moment, Flames surged all over its body and healed its wounds. At his level, as long as it wasn't a fatal injury, he could heal it immediately. Seeing that the heavenly Netherbird's wounds had also healed, Lin Xian's expression became extremely serious. But now, the arrow had already been knocked, and it had to be released. Thus, in the next moment, he once again gripped the azure pine sword, and his entire body became incomparably fierce. The great dragon sword soul in his body quickly revolved, and at the same time, a cyan dragon-shaped sword shadow quickly condensed in front of him. This time, Lin Xian summoned the great dragon sword soul. At that moment, his great dragon sword soul had reached the 8th heavenly layer of the exalted realm. It had become very clear, and he could even see the dragon scales on it. As soon as the great dragon sword soul appeared, countless dragon roars resounded. A terrifying aura spread out in all directions. That aura caused even the heavenly serene bird's expression to change. Damn it, what is this thing? Why does it make me feel so terrified? The heavenly serene bird's expression changed drastically. He didn't expect that other than the azure pine sword, his opponent had something else that could make him feel afraid. This was beyond his expectations. Who is this kid? Why is he so strange? No, I have to kill him. Otherwise, when he grows up, he will be a great threat to me. The heavenly serene bird's killing intent surged. He couldn't let this kid in front of him live. Thus, he gripped the 9 darkness demonic sword tightly and quickly slashed forward. The black sword chi streaked across the void like a thunderclap, causing the entire void to shake. This was the demonic sword chi, the heavenly serene bird's most powerful weapon. At that moment, it was even more shocking. Perhaps even a true king would have to retreat in the face of such power. However, Lin Xian didn't dodge. The red lotus armor on his body condensed once again, making him look like a god of war. At that moment, he gripped the ashen pine sword tightly in his right hand and the great dragon sword soul in his left. Then he clasped his hands together, and the ashen pine sword and the great dragon sword soul merged together. The combination of the two exploded with a dazzling light. Countless dragon roars resounded as a shocking sword chi shot into the sky. At that moment, not only did the ashen pine sword come to life, but it also seemed to have recovered to its peak. An azure-green, long sword appeared in the void, emitting a dazzling light. Lin Xian held the long sword in his hand and stood in the void like a peerless king. His entire body emitted a powerful sword aura. In the next moment, he swung his arm and unleashed a shocking sword strike. The sword chi was like a rainbow that streaked across the void, causing the mountains and rivers to lose their color. The green sword shadow transformed into a giant dragon that roared and charged forward. The dazzling light was so bright that no one could look directly at it. The powerful aura caused the entire sky to tremble. What? This power is even stronger than before. Feeling the sword chi in the air, the heavenly Netherbird's face turned ugly. He did not expect his opponent to be able to unleash an even stronger sword chi. The sword chi was a huge threat to him, so he snorted coldly and gripped the 9 darkness demonic sword tightly again. He quickly unleashed several sword chi that formed a huge sword net that pressed forward. However, he had underestimated the power of the great dragon sword soul and the ashen pine sword. The combination of the two still surpassed the power of a king. Therefore, the black sword net in the sky was instantly shattered. The terrifying dragon-shaped sword chi quickly enveloped the heavenly Netherbird. Rumble! In front of him, the entire ground caved in. Countless sword chi pierced through the heavens and earth like a sudden clap of thunder, causing the sky to shake. The heavenly Netherbird's body was completely submerged in the sword chi. Blood dyed the ground red, and the sky shook. The heavenly Netherbird was even more severely injured. However, in the next moment, he let out a mournful roar. "Brat, I didn't want to use my true power, but you're the one who's competing with me." The heavenly Netherbird's roar was followed by an extremely terrifying power that exploded from his body. Not only that, the countless sword chi in front of him retreated, as if they were being pushed away by something, and flew in all directions. In the next moment, the heavenly Netherbird's terrifying body appeared again. Beside him, there was a flickering black domain. It was like an independent space of flames that surrounded him. "Brat, you've angered me. You're dead. Even with the Ashen Pine sword, you won't be able to escape death today." The heavenly Netherbird became extremely ferocious. Originally, he did not care about dealing with an ant. However, he did not expect this ant to injure him twice, forcing him to use his true power. "Not good. This is the power of a domain," the Crimson Dragon exclaimed. His face became very serious. "Damn it, I was too careless. Previously, I thought that he was bound by the star chains and could not use much power. I did not expect him to be able to use a domain. This is really surprising." "Domain? What's that?" You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.